So we'll have to see what comes out on top today. But and we do have some decks already using tournament promos. They are out in the wild, so you are able to pick them up right now too, which is something you weren't able to get at Palm Springs either. And all right, both these boys are here, and both have the core cards, which I really appreciate. I might have to recommend that moving forward. All right, what are your thoughts on cores versus cards to represent cores? I guess the
So I've been using core cards like in tournament recently to like try them out, but they feel very I don't know, they feel like they take up too much board space for me.
Yeah, I get that. Because I've been thinking the last webcam tournament we obviously with a newer game and also in a game that will probably have 0 official webcam tournaments too. It's a little bit of there's just a lot of people who are just not used to it compared to like Digimon or like One Piece right now, right? But I will say like the cores can be very easily obscured on webcam. Like they're very not visible. Like the cards are 10 times more visible, I'd say, comparatively.
Yeah, they're definitely more visible, but also from my experience, I think I have a slightly different view from other people because I find it to be a lot easier to do some nefarious things with core cards more so than cores because if you're gonna, and obviously this isn't everybody who's core cards, but for the most part you're going to see people who are going to stack the core cards directly on top of each other, making it very hard to actually get full counts, which is something that you kind of have to do in some scenarios, whether they're in your reserve or they're in your trash, just because of how much board space they do take. You kind of have to stack them up, but they are obviously a little bit more visible, but I think there is a little bit more potential sleight of hand things that could go on there. But I think for webcam purposes, I think for things like this, I don't think people are really going to be too nefarious with it. So the core cards definitely do help, but yeah, that is something to keep in mind, that I feel like it's a little bit easier to try and sneak in a core card extra a little more than it is to sneak in an actual core. And I think that goes for both in person and webcam. But on webcam, obviously, the little cores are a lot harder, especially if they're using like the JP cores, which are even smaller. It's harder to see. So I don't know if I necessarily have a preference for either. I think there is pluses and minuses for both. So I think it's going to have to see how that develops. But from my experience, I have seen the core cards be a little bit easier to, or sometimes a little bit harder to keep the full track of, just because of the stacks that happen in reserve or in trash.
Yeah, and I get that too. And my biggest thing is just visibility, right? And I'm not on one way or the other of like forcing that kind of stuff, but it has crossed my mind. Like, last weekend was the last one I ran was a little bit rough. One guy was literally playing in the back of his car. Like I had to.
What?
He's like, well, I couldn't get off work soon enough, and I really wanted to play. So, and he went all the way to the finals. So he was just playing the entire time.
Hey,
yeah, it was dedication. Yeah, but also that meant that one hand was holding the camera and the other hand was playing. Like it was bonkers.
That's insane.
I probably wouldn't accept it moving forward, but yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I respect the grind.
I do. It's definitely respect, but at the same time, like you gotta like have a standard of it. So, and he's playing white control, so like he was punishing himself. We're going to the last round. He's like, man, my arm's tired. Like, well, you decided to do this. I don't know.
All right, double flying turtle, double misses, getting rid of the Freezatol and the exhaust nexus, which is kind of the flying turtle special, to be completely honest. It's usually either like exhaust nexus or ice shield. It's always something that hurts. And then on the other end, I don't remember exactly what that card's name is, but that is a card that we don't see too often. Whenever you summon it and pay a soul core, you do get to draw a card. A lot of people usually go over the for the Dark Lancer Cavalier, which is a 4-drop draw card, but just because of how well it works with Beldegor. But we are seeing this card here. It is a decent draw if you don't have anything else in hand that requires a Soul Core, which we are going to see the Spider here, which when it has a Soul Core, it attacks will strip. So both of these flying turtles are one of them's going down for sure.
One of them's going down for sure, yeah. And yeah, I agree. I personally like the Cavalier a little bit more, but you can't play it going first, which kind of stinks at sometimes. But yeah, being a 4 is just a really good stat just because you're able to... oh, yeah, and takes the life. Okay.
Takes the life and then gains the core from
wait a minute. Does he have... How much life does he have right now? Give me a second. I think because it looks like he has 5. I'll just let him know.
Yep.
Give me 1 second. All right. Unlike other games, this is an easy fix of just moving it out.
Yeah. And obviously, I don't think there's... It's something that's easy to fix and easy to catch at the beginning of the game, too. But here comes Hippocampo. Hippocampo, kind of a threat because the Blessed will, if they deal damage, will be able to heal back up, which is very nice. But the scary part here is all the cards do have 1 core, which means that all of them are at mercy of the Spider on the other end. But also, if Curse Dragon comes out, it could just clear off the entire board and ramp. So, gonna let that attack go through, get some extra cores into your reserve.
Yeah, and you only need, I think, 6 cores available for you to ramp right now, and with the reductions on it too, so that could be very scary. There is Blessed Cathedral on the other side too, which if with the you get to ramp as well though, right?
Yes, if it is during the attack step,
which it won't.
So if you go for Curse Dragon, it would take them out. So going for the double block here, now going for the Hippocampo, which if it goes through is going to be able to get that Blessed, but gonna be going with the core theft here. So discard 1, getting putting the core into the trash, getting rid of the Hippocampo, and also putting Beldegor in there, which is pretty huge because now if that Spider goes down, that Beldegor is gonna be able to come out and pop any of the exhausted spirits.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things about Core Theft is it's really good at setting up your Beldegor, and why I've really thought about like running Volcanic Canyon in purple as well, just for that cycle it needs sometimes.
Yeah, I've definitely done some testing with the Volcanic Canyon and Beldegor combo because a lot of the times in these purple lists you're also playing cards like Burning Force, and even sometimes they sneak in something like Starblessed Draw there, but being able to reduce Burning Force and paying only 4 is pretty huge. And Cathedral...
Oh. We did have another copy of Exhaust Nexus, though. Which will cost 1 less thanks to the Pentan.
The Pentan, the reduction, but it needs the level 2 to reduce, so it's still going to cost.
You're right.
Should cost 5 to go through, but Exhausted Nexus Burst gonna give minus 1k for each Nexus. There is obviously no Nexuses, but it's gonna be able to pay to give the minus 3 to the board, and did get rid of the Spider and the Beldegor, but not activating the Immortal.
From the other
actually,
Beldegor.
the Immortal is during attack step, so actually couldn't target the Beldegor and trash right there.
No, it was during the attack step because that was a burst, right?
Well, he burst off of the summon.
Oh, when summoned,
Beldegor.
that's right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
so he summoned the Beldegor, activated and cleared, and since it was an attack step, can't actually go for the Immortal on that Beldegor, but having the Mordred out here is nice because when swinging, you can strip more cores. The only downside is that it only has 3,000 BP at level 1, so even just something like an Angelic Pressure would be able to take it out here. And if they do it in the main phase, again, not going to be able to go for the Beldegor and trash, but it looks like no cards in hand, so just going to put 3 cores on each Cathedral, so that way if the Pentan does go down during the attack step, they are going to be able to draw on top of the core gain. But going on to the other end, it is a little bit scary to have no cards in hand because now you can't really play around anything and your opponent just has open information on what's going on.
Yeah, agreed. And not having to be worried about that too, and then like what, maybe like worst case, if it was Star Blast Draw, I think you'd be forced to activate it during the main, right? You wouldn't. Would you have gambled another on summon effect?
Um, if it was Star Blast Draw, I definitely think I probably would have just gone for the play. You are playing against purple, which has the most win summoned of any of the colors. So
Mm-hmm.
when you set cards like that, they are pretty guaranteed to come down at some point and happen. But it's still one of those things where when you have no cards in hand, you probably want to just try and find whatever you can and get those 2 draws going. But now on the other end, they got the Netherworld's Depths, so no cards in hand for Anthony. And now the Netherworld's Depths, so if you try to swing in, they're going to get a draw every time you swing. So see what we got here. Missing the core step and the refresh step. There we go.
There it is. Yeah. But yeah, just deciding. You know what? I'm. I
That's
don't
how
know.
you know. That's how you know things aren't going too well if you just miss the
The extra, yeah, if
miss
the
the first couple
extra
steps.
chords doesn't matter to you, yeah.
I mean, anything right here could be pretty good. Like something like a Deadly Balance could be pretty decent because you could sack off your Aglavale, get that draw, and then get rid of the Penten. And then they would not really have anything going for it. You also notice that they didn't play whatever card they drew, despite having multitude of cores available. So probably representing a magic card or something really high end, like maybe a God Beast. So it is a lot of information with just a pass right there with 1 card in hand.
Yeah, definitely something reactive that just doesn't work against the current board.
We have a burst set, so it also could be something like an Ice Shield or something like that.
Yeah, so we did another copy of that. No Exhaust Nexus from the burst, because that could essentially clear board again.
Yeah, that would clear board, and that would be pretty rough, but no Exhaust Nexus coming out, so the burst with yellow probably looking more so on the Ice Shield or Dream Bomb section, and then just another draw pass there. So starting to build up some cards in hand, which is nice, but not developing anything and not really having an answer to this Blessed Cathedral, or not the Netherworld Depths. But the thing is purple is the slower deck, so the longer you go, the better purple's going to, or the more purple's going to get ahead. Yellow definitely is a deck that usually wants to be going a little bit faster, especially in that early game.
Yeah, I think purple definitely has a better end game in my experience too. So being able to get there and you have so much potential for draw, and with the spider out and both of these Mordreds, they're both immortal targets too, which are inherent card draw. So all very good.
So not going to be able to strip a core with the spider unless they move that soul core off the Aglavale. If they did, they could swing 3 times, strip 1 core from each Mordred, and then strip a core with the spider and get rid of the Penten. But looks like they're just going to be going for aggro. But unless they have something in their hand like a core theft, not going to be able to fully strip the Penten down. But this does move it down to a 3K.
Yeah, which is impactful. And then it's still not level 2, is it? Or
it is level 2, yeah.
Okay. Which is
so it went down to from 4K to 3K, which is big because the Mordreds themselves are 4K, so you could block there. So going to go for that block, gain the card off the Netherworld Depths, and if this Penten does go down, it's going to be 2 card draws and 2 cores gained from the Cathedral. So that could be pretty big, but you are still slightly falling behind.
Yeah, and you do get one draw for yourself as purple from the Depths, but I think a draw 2 is definitely something that Anthony needs right now.
Oh, you need it big, especially after drawing 2 cards and not doing anything. The attack still. Oh wait, no, it was blocked. So deciding to just pass it from there, which is fine. See what your opponent's going to do from here. They went from not really playing anything to now having some cards, so they're either going to pop off or still have a slightly slow hand. The Phantasm does help, so now every time you play the first time you play a Fabled Beast, you can exhaust it to draw a card, so that's decent. But we just got another Penten.
Yeah, which is not a Fabled Beast, unfortunately.
No, but he is a lad. Friezatal is also
Oh,
not a Fabled
nope.
Beast, so that is unfortunate.
It will facilitate some potential more card draw if needed, and you do have a lot
Yeah.
of cores underneath your cathedrals. But at the same time, you kind of have to prioritize giving these cores to your guys as well, because they could get stripped with all the effects on board.
Yeah, putting the 2 cores onto the Phantasm when you don't have a Fabled Beast on board is a bit interesting because you are in a position where they could swing 1 Mordred, strip a core from the Friezatal, which then kind of forces you to block with it, or they'll just get free value with the second Mordred.
Yeah.
And in this scenario, you'd more so want to be blocking with the Penten, so that way you can get the draws from the Cathedral and the Friezatal. But now you're kind of put in a position where double Mordred can just clear off that Friezatal, and they also get the draw off the purple Smoke Valley when they do reduce all those cores. So I don't know. It's going to be hard to come back from this position unless you kind of get the like some really good draws these next couple turns, because your opponent's just going so hard that again, you're kind of going to need that Exhaust Nexus play coming out of the burst, so that way you can clear off the entire board. Because right now, Exhaust Nexus itself is only going to clear off the Spider and the Aglavale, when the Mordreds are the 2 kind of bigger problems sitting at 4K.
Yeah, but well, you have it. Now have 2 nexuses, so if they are in burst, you are able to do the -2k and then also pay the cost again for -3k. So you can do a -5k across the board, which I think would be able to get rid of most of these guys.
Yeah, it would clear off everything. It would be kind of a bait if it is, because we did see Wind Summon come out with that burst set that wasn't in an Exhaust Nexus. So if they are saving it, it would be a pretty big play right here. But the information that they've kind of flashed so far is that it's probably not Exhaust Nexus, but that could be. If it is, that is kind of the that'll turn the tides a lot, really. I think that might actually just put you back into the driver's seat to a degree.
Yeah, and so attacking with the assassin, yeah, I think with the Penten here, you do get the draw from the depths, but then you will be drawing 3 cards and ramping 2 cores based off that, which is I'd take that trade almost every time.
And you get rid of their assassin going 4-4, so it's decent value, because instead of just losing a spirit to something like we saw before, the Mordred swing in, which reduced the Penten, so they couldn't trade, and so it was kind of just a draw card for Anthony. Now it's that, but also being able to get rid of the assassin, which had the soul core on it, which is big because we have a couple spirits on board that want that soul core on them with the Spider and the Aglavale. So those 2 are a little bit weaker here.
All right, so
now
attacking,
the Mordred going in.
Yep, taking the core off, but you can still just block with this free still if you want. Again, I think Exhaust Nexus, if you have it, would be able to do that. But again, three draw and 2 cores is, again, you take that every time, right?
Yeah, you're ramping hard. So they're drawn off the Netherworld Depths, going for Angelic Pressure. So gonna bump that Mordred down to 1 to match the Friezatal. So this would be a trade here. Getting rid of the Mordred is nice, but they are going to be able to bring out a Beldegor off of this after this battle.
Yeah, and I forgot to set up the timer. We were about 45 minutes left in this round too. So this game taking its time. I would expect this one to take a little bit longer than a lot of the aggressive matchups that we see too. So
yeah, we saw just a slow start from Anthony, which is kind of the more so aggressor in this matchup, and so that is going to cause for a little bit slower game, but actually going for the double Immortal here. So going to go with the Beldegor, and just going to go ahead and pop the Ice Shield right away, which is interesting.
I do think you have enough cores at this point. Like you don't care too much.
Yeah, you do have, I mean, yeah, because what I was going to say is normally you save it down to like 2 left just so you can get max cores, but I mean, look at all those cores. There's probably nothing in the hand that can't be played, so going to set another burst. So if that is the Exhaust Nexus, that could be pretty big, but that does put you in danger of just damage if it isn't Ice Shield. But that's a lot of cores coming out here. Going
Ooh,
for
the
Elephant.
elephant.
Yeah, the
Nice.
Elephant is massive versus Purple because they can't do too much against Elephant. You know, if you Deadly Balance, you can choose that to get the draws. If you swing Curse, you can block and delete it. Get the cards in the draw there. So Elephant very strong versus Purple, but also paying 8 cores to summon it is all going
Pretty
to get
chunky.
put back. Yeah, but you're going to get it all back from the Elephant level 2 effect. At the end of your turn, you perform a refresh step, so you could even swing in with the Elephant here, get a check, and then leave it as a blocker for next turn. They are going to get a draw from the Netherworld's Depths, which I don't know if I missed it or not, but I don't think they did get that draw.
Yeah, that's that kind of stuff. I kind of lean on the players to know. I don't. Yeah,
Yeah. I just didn't know if I missed it right there, but we're gonna block, uh, block with the Deadly Balance on the block. So, actually looking like they're gonna choose the Elephant, which is
Mm-hmm.
interesting because you would have that refresh step at the end of the turn, but honestly, just getting the cards in is fine. You do have the Gem Beast on the board, which is a 3K blocker right now, so you can stop one of these Beldegors from swinging in, but you are at the mercy of Mordred with only 1 core. You're in the attack step, so you can't put any more cores on or anything like that. So we're just going to see a pass, but the Elephant did put in a lot of work. Depending on what's in the hand, though, being able to refresh with yellow and all the magic that they have access to could be pretty big on the opponent's turn, but
Yeah, I'm
if
I'm
that is Ice
surprised.
Shield, you're probably looking pretty good till next turn.
I would have been super tempted to play Exhaust Nexus if I was Anthony and had it already because you're able to get it so far reduced and it just clears the board outright.
And it cleared the board, yeah.
Yeah, so really interesting on that one. But yellow's finally gotten a lot of card draw. I'm just gonna say it's probably Ice Shield set, so you're not too worried. You're pretty
Yeah.
safe in that. But they are developing another wide board. Yeah, if Exhaust Nexus comes down, you're definitely in a lot of trouble. But
It's hurting. I mean, we've gone through a lot of draws. Anthony went from no cards in hand pretty early to now having what 8, 9, 10 cards in hand. So
yeah,
the chances of there being an Exhaust Nexus in there are not terrible.
yeah, and also we did see one has been used already, and one was discarded thanks to our friend the turtle, right? So
Yeah.
only 2 more exist for him. So there's a good chance he hasn't seen it yet, but. Yeah, it would be a great boon to him right now.
Mordred's going to swing. That is going to remove the core from the Gem Beast. So
Oops.
that is going to proc the Cathedrals once again, draw 2, gain 2 cores. Does look like he put the core from the Gem Beast into the trash when it's supposed to go into reserve.
Yeah, off the Mordred.
But
Yeah,
I don't know. With how many cores are in there, we don't know if it'll
I
actually matter. But the only thing that's putting the cores into the trash is going to be core theft and
Pentacles.
King Snake Pendacles. So
Yeah.
everything else goes into reserve.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, Burning Force.
Burning Force. So that you can target just about anything on the board here. I would definitely target the forecast and anything but the Beldegor. If you did target the Beldegor and the forecast at the same time, they wouldn't be able to go for that immortal. But being able to remove the 4 and 5 costs while Beldegor is on the board would be pretty big, just so that way they don't get the immortal later. It makes it a little bit more tricky. It's going to force them to have another 4 or 5 cost on the board. But activating that Ice Shield pretty early, once again, just conserving some life, which is pretty big. And looks like they're asking Trash how many Ice Shields.
Yeah, so that's two have been hit already, and I don't think the turtle hit one earlier, right?
No, he hit the Friezatol and the Exhaust Nexus.
Gotcha.
Off the turtle, but another Paradise coming out. So just a ton of draw coming out. Like,
yeah.
The amount of draw
Oh my gosh,
getting from going
third
from no
cathedral.
hand.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, they are desperate for more cards. It seems.
Yeah, we are cooking.
He's almost out of core cards. If you look over there, like that stack is not big.
Yeah, I was testing with the core cards, and I made sure to put a big old stack of core cards in there just in case I get into this situation where cathedrals are coming out. And I mean, cathedrals themselves cause a lot of core gain, but now we also have to account the fact that Elephant came in. You
Oh
know
my
what?
gosh. Yeah.
Fourth
4.
Paradise.
No, this is
4.
Cathedral. Yeah, all 4.
Or Cathedral, yep. 4 cathedrals coming out. We need something to get effect off of that. If that's Ice Shield, that's at least semi-decent because you just spent so many cores on Nexuses. Oh, and here comes out Campo. So going to pay 2 for Campo and draw 2.
Okay.
I think there's 3 cores remaining.
Yeah, he's got them. Yeah, 3 cores, it looks like.
So you definitely probably want to be coring up here to play around Mordred and potential other spider, but
no,
he's going to be going in for the Hippo. Yeah, Hippo Turbo.
Yeah, he's trying to deck himself out. Like that's what it seems like because he gets
digging for something for sure. Leaving a core in the reserve. So probably trying to force as many cards to be blocked as possible. Because now we're gaining 4 cores and drawing 4 cards.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I think he's out.
Yeah, I think he just ran out of core cards.
I think so too. All right, there it is. All right.
There's I don't even know what that is, but that works.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of draw. I mean, we still got a decent amount of cards in deck, but definitely running low, especially when you consider the multiple Cathedral procs, multiple Paradise procs. So this is where you need to flip over those core cards where it has 4 cores or 5 cores written on the back.
Yeah. Yeah, and you have to draw, right?
I do believe so.
Yeah, so I mean, luckily the draw is on the level 2, so you can eventually just take those cores off and be okay with it. But yeah, at the same time, you have like 100 cores right now. It's crazy. Maybe not 100. Maybe closer to 50.
This is I mean, we're ramping 8 cores just this turn so far.
Mm-hmm.
Plus the core step, so it's 9 cores this turn.
And if Pantan goes down, then you get another core. Okay, yeah, there it is.
There we go. There we go. It's getting to the point though where you have so many cores where it's how do you even spend them all?
Mm-hmm. I mean, at least I would say at this many amount of cores, cards are a little bit better. Imagine having that many beads, and then
I could send you a terrible picture of me and my buddy Jesse. We were testing the night before, or a couple days before Palm Springs, and he was playing a yellow deck with Cathedral, and I was playing Red Pterosaur, and versus Red Pterosaur, he had 38 cores.
He's trying to make the ball pit for McDonald's,
yeah, yeah. I was about to dive in.
Mm-hmm. All right, so Cavalier comes out, trying to get some card draw of their own.
Some draws. We'll see if an Exhaust Nexus comes out of burst right here.
Yeah, if it did, that'd be so well timed.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it. I do think that the Ice Shield is a little bit safer, especially with all the swinging that happened last turn. But Mordred coming in once again, going to strip the core from the Penton. That's going to result in more cores, more draws, more just getting closer to the deck, bottom of the deck. Looks like he found another stack of unsleeved core cards.
Yeah, just hanging around. And then, Ice Shield number 3. Okay.
I mean, you kind of have to there. At least have the Ice Shield set if it wasn't the Exhaust Nexus, because there's just too much damage. But now, Exhaust Nexus is a bit more interesting out of hand, just because the Mordred, the Beldegor, and the Cavalier are all at 4K right now. So Exhaust Nexus out of hand is only going to be able to get rid of the small Beldegor and the other little Dragonaga.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not super helpful right now. But again, imagine you have 40 cores right now. You have a dozen cards in hand, which just doesn't happen in this card game. So you do have a lot of potential just to put as many cores as you need to underneath some of your cards. Okay, sure.
Another Paradise.
Okay,
We're just going max Nexuses right here. Airvata, not tapping the Paradises because, I mean, you're running out of cards.
Paradise is optional because you tap it, right? Because you pay a cost.
Yes, yeah,
okay.
it's you may.
Okay, that's why it's you may, because you draw just too much in this deck. I was talking to from Doa at Palm Springs. He's like, this is like the only card that has like this cost of a hard once per turn by tapping it. Like, yeah. Why is it so strange? And it's because of this situation right here. The devs had the foresight to be like, well, if you already had like 40 cards in hand and 10 cards left in deck, you don't want to draw anymore.
Yeah, I also think having, if it wasn't, I think the exhausting of the Nexus is actually pretty big, just because we just saw 3 Fabled Beasts summoned this turn. So if you were in a situation, obviously we're in a situation where we're running low on deck, but if this was, turn 3 or 4, and you were able to get 3 draws off of just doing that, it would be a pretty strong archetype.
Mm-hmm.
Just the Phantasm right now being able to draw off the first summon is already pretty strong, but yeah, definitely if you had that plus Cathedral plus cards like Turtle that can search you and things like that, the amount of cycle would be pretty insane.
Yeah, it'd be pretty.
I mean, it's already kind of insane. We've seen we've seen a lot of draws this game.
Yeah, and is he still like deciding what to do with his cards? Like at some point, like if you have like 8 attacks and you just win, right? Like they can't stop all of them, at least not easily with the resources they have. And
yeah, I mean, with purple right now, it's a little bit scarier just because the blockchain would probably go block the 2 Beldegors, and then you could block the Cavalier to play the Beldegors back out.
All right, but Burning Force comes out here, gets the tiny Beldegor and the Dragonaga there.
It can't hit any. All the other 3 are sitting at 4K, so can't hit those. But
Ooh, okay.
Dream Bomb. Okay, Dream Bomb going to bounce back. I'd assume the Beldegor, just so that way they don't get the block into double Immortal. They still have the 1 Immortal because you just Burning Forced away 1. But nothing. The only thing that's 4K right now is the Penten. So if you do swing in, nothing will actually delete the Cavalier.
Mm-hmm.
You do definitely need to push damage though, because they do have a burst set, which is more than likely going to be that Ice Shield, and so you kind of need to pop through those. Your opponent's gotten through 3 Ice Shields now, and you haven't been able to push really any damage so far. So definitely need to try to go through. The Airvatas do help, because if they do get blocked, they will be able to play out another 2 cost from Trash. Probably not the Freeze-a-Tall, so he doesn't tech himself out, but does have access to things like Penten and Flying Turtle in there. But gonna go for that first block. Nothing is getting rid of the Cavalier except for the Penten, so I think it's a decent block here.
Yeah, and it does it does force a Penten, which does help with more cost reduction if needed. But going into the other Airvata, I kind of would be tempted to. It doesn't really matter, but to keep that open just so you could get if they try to get rid of an active card, they get it back. But yeah, that's fine. So pops their first Ice Shield.
Yeah, got 1 down. I think it's funny how yellow has gotten so much deeper into the deck over purple, especially when we saw a Netherworld Depths super early. Usually get a lot of draw, but Baculus, we know what comes after this a lot of the times. It's going to be that Infernal King Cursed Dragon, which if you do, that's going to be ramping 6 cores.
Which is mediocre compared to how much yellow is ramped, but still very good.
Yeah. It's nothing, but hey, in any other scenario, it's pretty good. So gonna go for the Cursed Dragon here. They're actually gonna ramp 7 because it looks like they are taking out their own Baculus. The other 2 are gonna have 2 cores on them, but yeah, ramp 7 is pretty big. one Ervata did go down on the other side, so they do have access to playing out a 2-cost from the
No, it's
trash.
a level 1 when destruction and when destroyed, I think. So it wasn't level 1 when it was destroyed,
Oh,
right?
right. Yep.
Let me make sure on that. Yeah, it's level 1. So since you didn't have any cores on it.
Yeah, so actually just complete board clear, and that's where we have seen Yellow a lot of this game put just one core on a lot of the spirits, and versus Purple a lot of the times you do want to be having more. Obviously, the Baculus changes those things, but I think in general going into game 2, you probably want to be coring up a little bit more.
Yeah, and I will say in general, like Anthony's done really well at getting a lot of value off his plays, but he's not playing around a lot of the purple cards that could be, scary on the other side.
Right. He's definitely winning the value game right here.
Yeah. He too much,
but not winning the life game.
Yeah.
I think that was 6 cards left in deck.
Yeah.
So,
and not too many.
Yeah. Luckily, there's when you clear off all that much board when your opponent just played 4 or 5 spirits last turn, they're probably running a little bit lower. Even the massive hand size, there's only so many spirits that you have in a deck, and we've seen a pretty good amount of them go through. Double Exhaust Nexus coming out, so those are only going to cost 3 each, so only going to need 6 cores. You got more than that in there.
Yeah, so a counter board clear, which is honestly very, very interesting to see. I think they're both. Are they 2 each? It doesn't matter. He has got enough cores for 7 of them, but
yeah, I mean, I thought it was 7 4 reduction, but I definitely could be wrong there. Regardless, we could have paid an extra 4 cores each and still been in there. But
yeah, it's 7 5
Mortal
reduction.
Going to come out off of that Mordred, and you can swing in here, but no burst set, so going to be. I think that was a pass.
I believe so as well. I don't know
where that draw came from.
Yeah, I believe it's a pass.
So yeah, this is going to be. I mean, that's minimum cost. Just off of Nexuses, we don't even need to count 2 costs in trash. But it's going to cost 2. Put the God Beast out, and since they don't have a burst set, if you can push the damage here and they don't get the Ice Shield, you are looking in a pretty good spot. But with 2 Netherworld Depths coming out, that means they're going to draw 2 cards every swing, and that has a much higher chance of being able to find an Ice Shield or some sort of removal to stop a wide board aggression, because triple God Beast is what we're doing, it looks like.
Yeah, because you have the Beldegor is currently a level 2 because it has 3 cores underneath it. But, obviously these God Beasts cost a little bit more than 2, so they don't affect themselves with their level 2 effect. But if there's still 7 cards in Anthony's hand, so...
Pegasoros. Interesting. Not going to get too much value off the Pegasoros here because we currently don't have any 2 costs on the board, but we basically just dropped all of the top end in one go right there.
Yeah, and you would 100% want to have any spirits that cost 2, especially if you're level 3 with Pegasaurus, because you are able to deciding to draw cards off the play of it. So 3 cards left in deck.
It's interesting. That means you got to be going a little bit aggressive there. Probably just looking for some spirit to play down.
Yeah.
They have enough cores to play pretty much anything in deck, even after the triple God Beast Pegasaurus. So, triple God Beast, double Pegasaurus. We're running it up.
Yeah. And he is. Oh no, never mind. I was out. Oh, he's only got 15 cores left.
Yeah.
Oh, Dream Bomb.
Okay, so Dream Bomb gonna bounce Beldegor back to hand. So, I mean, permitted multiple removal cards like Deadly Balance or Ice Shield coming out. You do have a potential push for game right here.
Yeah. Yeah, one was tapped from the.
Yep.
All right, entering attack step, it seems. So.
Yep. So
no level 2s to you have all these effects for your 2 costs, but none of them None of them happening.
Yeah. You have everything that you want for 2 cost, except they're all in the trash. So I got to imagine that after a couple swings here, they're going to be able to find something. But you need to play Ice Shield right here
Now,
if
yep.
that's the play, or else you're going to go down to 1 health, and then Ice Shield is not really helping you. So, I mean, both players
Oh
got a
no.
library of a hand. Oh, no Ice Shield. So going to swing here. Gonna need Core Theft or something. Deadly Balance isn't gonna do it.
Nope.
Oh, and
And
that's just okay.
it's it.
That took a very different turn there at the end.
Yeah,
I
I
felt
didn't
like
think he was going to get there. Like
yeah,
we've only seen I think one ice shield
one
from
Ice Shield. Yeah,
Taylor. Yeah, and you can't activate it during its flash just to end the turn after the battle step. So yeah, I honestly didn't think Anthony was going to be able to finish that turn.
yeah. That was. I mean, that was really interesting because I felt like Purple was decently far ahead.
Yeah,
It felt like Yellow kind of, they went very deep, drew a lot of cards, kind of ran out of steam to a degree, was almost out of deck, but the forbidden triple God Beast double Pegasaurus turn was able to get there. Anthony does have a card in burst still set that. Okay, there we go. Saw him pile shuffle and was going to make sure that didn't miss that, but um, so I don't even know what you do going into the next game as the purple player, because if I was the purple player, I kind of would have thought I was winning that game.
I did too.
For a
I thought
long portion of time, and then the double exhaust nexus came out, and then from there it was just there was just so many cores that, I mean, we saw triple God Beast, double Pegasaurus, and Dream Bomb all in the same turn, which is, I mean, I don't know if that's ever happened in the history of this game before.
that is like the most cores I've ever seen. That's the most like just the idea of having like 10 cards in hand and like infinite cores in this game is such a flex, right? Like I don't know if you can learn this power. It is very that seems very very strong.
Yeah, that seems like a sacred art.
Yeah. And yeah, so Taylor has 20 minutes to try to get 2 more games, which might be kind of tough for him, especially the game 1 lasting 40 minutes means you really got to hoof it if you want to try to win on the second one.
Yeah, and I mean, to be fair, Anthony had like a much slower start than I would say you normally have with God Beast, and was still able to get there, even though you had to play a slow game, which is going to a lot of the times favor purple. So if you do have a little bit faster of a start and you don't see that Underworld Depths, it could just go Anthony's way. So we're gonna have to see here, especially see who goes first, because that is pretty big. Because with Nexuses kind of being that main turn 1 play, if purple decides to go first and plays out a Nexus, that could just go for big damage. But nope, we're just gonna see the Dragonaga come out. Get the draws, though. I mean, it's a pretty decent turn 1. This is like what you're talking about. You can't play the Cavalier on turn 1, but you can play this out, get a blocker, and get a draw. So not terrible.
You want to do it before they're able to put any burst down for their for when summon effects, and just another Cathedral to start off again on the other side.
Yeah, I mean, it's a strong start with Yellow. A lot of the times, even if you're going second, you do want to be getting down the Nexus just because it helps with the reduction. And then also Cathedral, as we saw, can go pretty crazy. So if you are able to get the draws and the core ramp, it will help you out a lot. But Netherworld Depths on the other end, but actually, is that only 3 cores in reserve? Is what I'm... Yeah. Only 3 cores in reserve. So it would actually have to sack off something to get the Cathedral out, which is definitely not going to be worth it, I don't think.
Yeah, so just deciding to stack some cores on your boys, and it looks like attacking with the the Swordsman.
Yep, I do believe he's a 3K.
Yes,
and the Camelot is a 2K. So not the biggest of attackers there, but your opponent only has access to 1 core. So swinging in is relatively safe. They can swing the first attack, and then on the second attack, you would have 2 cores available with 1 reduction, so you could play something like Angelic Pressure to slow down the damage. But I think it's pretty safe to just be going for the attacks there as purple. Get some early damage. And Turtle going to come out, going to go for the draw and then reveal off of Turtle.
Yeah, I believe the reveal off Turtle afterwards. Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Oh, and
you
there
hate
it
to
is.
see it. You told us
there
the first turn.
That's the Turtle special.
Yep, it just loves hitting those ice shields. Okay.
Oh, okay. I mean,
second Turtle.
Turtle Turbo. Turtle Turbo.
Love to see it.
But the ice shield can hurt because if we do have a game similar to the last time, we did see them go through pretty much all of their ice shields. But, I mean, this is damage right here. You have a burst set. Your opponent doesn't. So I'm going to assume that if you're full swinging here and your opponent has 2 spirits and you have 3 health, that's more than likely going to be ice shield. The only thing that is going to
I think it could
be
Exhaust Nexus as well.
Pay for it.
Yeah.
I mean, it definitely could be Exhaust Nexus, but it is a bit risky because if your opponent doesn't play a Wind Summoned here, let's say they just play what?
Okay.
Leon coming out. So Leon is actually going to clear off all of the spirits on Anthony's board. Wind Summoned going to be deleting all spirits with 2,000 or less, and no Wind Destroyeds are going to activate. That's not going to matter right now because we don't have any spirits that have Wind Destroyed effects. But if something like Ervata was out there, that'd be pretty big. But Leon, often regarded as the weakest X-Rare in set 1, making a little bit of an appearance here and getting 3 cards cleared off the board. So pretty big here.
Yeah, that's actually really huge. So attacking with the Camelot Knight as well. Probably going to be Ice Shield. Okay, so 2 gone already. And yeah, we do get the full 4 to pay for it. And yeah, both are playing a faster game. I think Taylor probably played a little bit too safe that last game. And I wouldn't have been worried if I was him based on his playment and the style. But now just speeding it up.
From what happened, just because it was a very slow game that happened game 1, and Purple definitely probably could have gotten aggressive and taken advantage of it, but they did play a little bit slower, which did kind of come back to allow Yellow to go for game. But what we see here is we see 3 spirits with 1 blocker. So if we play a 4th spirit here, which it looks like we are paying 2 for another Campo, so we have 4 attackers to 1 blocker with 2 life left. So I would imagine you're going to swing out here. There's not a lot your opponent can do. They have access to Core Theft, Deadly Balance, and things of the such. But if you block here, everything that gets destroyed is going to be another core ramp for Anthony. So if it does, let's say the game doesn't end here or on Taylor's turn, then that would be even more cores on Anthony's next turn. But thinking about blocking here, I would definitely consider taking the life and then blocking the Hippocampo, just because if the attack does get through, they would want to block. But, this is big.
It's
going to
really
be paying 5, though. So 1, 2, 3, 4.
And you need 5
from... 4. No, because Leon is
red.
It
is red. It is red. Yeah. That is a true fact.
I was thinking purple cards, but yeah, so that is going to delete 2 here. But you did have to clear off a lot of your board, have 1 card in hand, so I'd imagine, you're going to pass turn here to keep a blocker on board. It's going to force your opponent to play 2 spirits, and also if you have, removal in hand, they're going to have to play around that. But that was a pretty big swing with that Burning Force right there, even if you did have to get rid of your 2 exhausted spirits.
Yeah, and I wouldn't have played around it, at least to that regard, because I'm like, there's only so many. It's another one.
Leon. Interesting. Side decking in multiple Leon into the scoop.
Into the scoop, it seems. Yeah, we are going into game number 3.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what was in Anthony's hand, but he only had 1 card, and so even if it was Ice Shield, going back into your turn, you would have 1 card in hand and no spirits on board, and your opponent would have 2 spirits that are able to block. So literally the only card that you could draw that would help you there would be Durham Dyna, which would have to be, in the side deck, which I
But
assume with a yellow deck probably not in there, so just gonna go ahead and move it along. I guess you could hit the elephant that we saw game one, but nothing on the board actually got rid of elephant, and so there wasn't a guarantee that you were going to be able to get the 3 card draw,
mm-hmm.
which would potentially get you out of there. So I think that was a pretty smart scoop in a way where it's just like play the Leon, scoop it up because you can have as much time as possible to try and win this third game.
And it looks like they're getting set up for it as well. We'll see. Anthony gets to choose who goes first, and it looks like he chose himself. So just playing the Cathedral and passing there.
I mean, Cathedral, very strong turn one. Now you got at least one reduction with a lot of 2 costs with 1 reduction is very nice. You could start to go for a little bit of a board swarm here, but going to go for that Cavalier, get a draw, and depending on what the hand is here, you could go a little bit aggressive. With your opponent only having access to 1 core on just that Cavalier, there's nothing they can really do to your spirits on board. So might just have to go for damage. I think after that second game, you probably just want to be going for damage just because that's you don't want a repeat of that last game.
Yep, and so we do have a Hippocampo with 3 cores, so it is a 4K. I honestly would have been tempted to swing right here. I'm really surprised that they didn't.
I think I definitely would have been tempted to swing there, but you do have to keep in mind that if you do swing, you are playing into cards like Beldegor or even Mordred, which would be able to strip 2, attack, strip 1. So both of them are relatively decent ways to get rid of the Hippocampo. But if you are playing it out there, I still feel like Hippocampo is just kind of a card that no matter what, you want to be turning sideways.
Yeah, because like the Cavalier is just a 3K, so you would have been able to hit over that. And since you already had, your Cathedral up, they'd have to probably, get the the only thing is like if they're Beldegor. Beldegor, punishes it a little bit, but I think you still come out ahead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they would probably be forced to block with the Cavalier because they don't want that Bless to go through. But gonna swing in with the Aglavale. Doesn't have the curse, so you could just block it there, but I guess they just don't want to get the draw, or you're just trying to get that core ramp. But Aglavale doesn't get that curse until level 2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which I believe is a level 2. All right, and passing there?
Over to the, I think, or
he definitely did the passing movement. Yeah,
I saw a pass hand, and we're already past the Aglavale attack. Already took the damage, so so Hippocampo is still relatively free here. Just a 3K and a 2K refreshed on Taylor's board right here. So
all right, I do like
up on the Cathedral. Yeah,
I do like that. So you do at least get some card draw from it, but and yeah, this is obviously pressure. You're gonna block with the Assassin, and that's probably just pass back after that.
Yeah, not too much to do there, but I mean, this is still not great because Beldegor will get through Cathedral to a degree. So if Beldegor's here and that Cavalier's still on board, that could be pretty rough, but we're going to go for another Cavalier. Now you don't have enough cores to play Beldegor unless you were to sack off something else. So definitely cycling there. I think if they had Beldegor, they would have went for it. But
oh, yeah. I would have slammed it.
Swings. Why not? Let's get a little bit of aggressive 3K Cavalier going in. All the cards are weak to Exhaust Nexus, Angelic Pressure of the such. So we'll see if any removals do come out, but we are going to see.
That's huge.
Yeah. It's going to be costing 5. We have exactly 5 available and can keep the Hippocampo on the board. So, I mean, that's huge because now you have nothing on the board. It's during attack step, so there's no more cards you can play or anything like that. So, unless you have, Deadly Balance or something that, and your opponent doesn't play any spirits, then this Hippocampo is more than likely going to be gaining you a life this next turn.
All right, so Deadly Balance does come down, which I agree with.
On the flash step, so I agree with it as well. I think, again, if you don't have the Deadly Balance, or if you have the Deadly Balance, you should use it just because if not, your opponent is going to not only deal damage, but also get another core, and Deadly Balance is just much weaker during your opponent's attack step because they are playing God Beast, so the chances that they're going to be playing any other spirit next to that Hippocampo to be a Deadly Balance target is pretty high. And so here comes out the Ervata. I don't believe there's a 2-cost in Trash yet. So we're just going big Ervata, getting around some core strip and not attacking, just going to pass, which I think is fine. I don't think you have any 2-cost spirits in Trash. I could be wrong, but if you don't want to just be giving up Ervata for free just yet.
Let's see, and
Spider. Oh, core down. So putting Spider up to a 4K, and then going to go with the Camelot Knight. That's not going to have Curse because the Soul Core is going to be on the Spider. And Spider not doing too much right here. You can swing, strip a core, but Ervata's level 2 is only 2 cores, so it's not like you're lowering DP or anything. Not that that really matters since it would be 4K to 3K, but I think they're trying to slow down a little bit here. Not sure what's in Purple's hand or in the yellow hand, but both of the players playing a little bit slower at this point. And I saw a little flash of a Pegasaurus. Okay.
Sorry, I was doing some tournament admin stuff.
No, you're good. There was a flash of a Pegasaurus, but we're still looking at what we're trying to do this turn. Lots of cores available to play, but just passing, not playing anything. Pegasaurus would have cost 4, so you could have played it and loaded up both spirits by taking the cores off the Blessed Cathedral. But now the Baculus is going to come out. That's going to strip the Ervata down to 1, and then the Earth Spider is going to be able to swing and take it out. No on deletion coming in, but we'll be able to gain a core and draw a card. So that at least gives you something to work with.
Yeah, and for some people who are kind of newer, so when you remove the cores, it still destroys them, but since it doesn't have a core in it anymore, it's not level 1, it's, level 0, I suppose?
Yeah, it's just not a level, yeah.
Yeah, but Blessed Cathedral doesn't really care about that, so it still procs, but the Ervata does not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there was no 2-cost in the Trash, I don't believe, anyway, so even if it was to pop out. Gonna go with the Dream Bomb, so no Nexus to bounce, but can pay the 5 and bounce back any spirit. Gonna bounce back the Baculus, looks like, which I think is fine. If they have Curse Dragon, that's a little bit scary, but it is the most expensive card on the board. It also stops another attack from coming in, because if they swing with the Camelot here, you go down to 2, which means you can still set Ice Shield safely, but if they were to have the Baculus and the Camelot and swung twice and put you down to 1, then Ice Shield becomes a little bit more of a dead card, but this game has been back and forth, it felt like already. The Exhaust Nexus felt like you went pretty far ahead, but now Purple is able to get pretty good board dominance.
Yeah, I don't know. I could be wrong, but I definitely would have liked to see that Hippocampo just try to pressure a little bit earlier.
100%.
Especially because we're about 4 minutes left in round, and if this doesn't conclude, it depends on who has more cores in their life, and it's 5 cores to 2 on Taylor's side right now.
Yeah, and that's where, I mean, Hippocampo is the great equalizer of the overtime, because not only do you lower your opponent's life, but it's going to increase yours. And interested if he's going to go for the core up or not. The Spider is going to just delete anything that has 1 core on it, but you do get Cathedral draws, so looks like we're just going for it here. Pegasaurus is definitely going to be the target to be deleted off the Spider Demon here, but just going for the pass, no swing, so looks like they're just kind of giving that Pegasaurus up for free here.
Yeah, because the Earth Spider Demon is one of my favorite cards. It just has such easy removal. Obviously, it's balanced around the fact that it has to use the Soul Core, which Purple does have a lot of cards that do depend on it, but the removal from it is so great. The fact that it doesn't target, and the only bad part is it's in the attack step, which can make a difference. Oh, but also, yikes.
Yeah, so gonna go for Curse Dragon here, pop in his own Camelot Knight plus the 3 on the other end, so that's gonna be a 4-core ramp, a board clear, no cathedrals gain or anything like that, and that, I mean, that might just seal it up just off of just overtime procedures. Even if we go, if the game doesn't end off of life, if we go to overtime procedures, you just got rid of so much aggression. Anthony only has, it looks like, 2 cards in hand, and so it's going to be very hard to come back. But now you just ramped 4 cores, so you still have cores to be able to play some cards from your hand. But it looks like we're just going to go for a couple of Aggle Veils here, just set up the blockers, while also probably swinging one in, I would imagine, to pop this Ice Shield. So
I would have put a Soul Core in one of them. That's because the Spaghetti doesn't need them anymore.
Yeah, I would definitely put a Soul Core onto the refreshed Aggle Veil. I mean, this is nice. You can get rid of an Aggle Veil and a Earth Spider Demon, but you can't pay for Ice Shield any longer. So if they swing in, you can use the effect to heal. Oh, that's just game.
Was it a Dream Bomb?
It looks like it was a Dream Bomb. I saw just
yeah, it was Dream Bomb. Okay.
Yeah, so you couldn't activate Dream Bomb there either. But even if you did have the Absolute Ice Shield set there, you wouldn't actually be able to activate it to end the battle phase. You'd have to just heal back up to 2, and then your opponent would swing the Curse Dragon, put you down to 1, which then kind of makes Ice Shield a lot weaker for the future turns. Because you'd have to play it from hand. It just puts you in a really good spot there. So the Burning Force was nice to get rid of some aggression, maybe trying to play some bluffs there and see if your opponent will swing in or not. But no cores to pay that Ice Shield is definitely a bit rough. Yeah, funnily enough, I'm looking at the list right now, and he is just playing my list.
Who
card for card, my list.
Which player is Tyson? Or
no, Jonathan. Moonrose.
I don't think this is giving out too much information, but the way that the bss.dev works is it names them, and so I have so many people today, maybe not a lot, but at least 4 people today submitted lists that were just strictly mined from Eggman events, which I was like, all right, cool. People use the website. Love to see it. So,
yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense, I think, because, there's 2 different groups of players, I think, in the community where you have people like myself and you, who we've been kind of in the game since, the release of all the cards, like online, with proxy play or things like that. We had the Espira circuits and stuff going on like that. So, we had a little bit more experience, but there's definitely a lot more players who are getting into the game with the actual release, which I got to keep in mind was, 2-3 weeks ago. And so there's a lot of people who are a lot newer to the game, and I think it is a very smart play to be able to just find a deck or an archetype that you like, go find the best performing list, and then that gives you a very solid starting point to both learn the deck or learn the game itself. And so I think in general, there's going to be a lot of people who are using those lists.
Yeah, and real quick, first, thank you so much to Darkshot for 11 months, 1 month away from their 12-month subscription. Also, Famous Rapper Dan for the sub. Thank you guys a lot. I really do appreciate that support there. It means a lot to me. And yeah, I think this game is, compared to a lot of other Bandai card games, because we've meddled with all of those, and except you haven't tried Dragon Ball, but it is very intimidating when you see this game and see how open the deck design and building is. That I fault no one for wanting to just have a deck to say, okay, I know this deck works, I want to see what it does, and then I can make my own changes from there.
Right. And I mean, it's definitely something that's intimidating. for some players and maybe attractive for some other players. Because I know for myself, as somebody who's the strongest part of my game, I felt has always kind of been deck building. A game like this, where you know, coming from Digimon, there's a lot of color requirements. So unless you're playing things like Crossheart or Hunters, a lot of the times you're playing the same color outside of things like Cool Boy or whatever. But in Battle Spirits, there is no color requirements, so the amount of creativity that you can have in this game to help reinforce decks versus, you know, various matchups is pretty big. And so it's one of those things where it can become a little bit overwhelming when you realize that no matter what deck you're playing, every card is viable.
Yeah, and yeah, again, I no shade at all, but Digimon is probably one of the most restrictive, or that you don't have a lot of avenues for creativity, especially since we have a meta already established in Japan that we can kind of look and see already. So, yeah, I think this game is way more tailored for anyone who likes the creativity on deck building and seeing what that looks like. And you know, I've been looking and covering this game for 2 months, and already I'm just astounded by what decisions people have made and what have worked out. Is very, very cool.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot that you can do, and like I feel like I personally have been going through just kind of trying to try as many wacky things as I can, and sometimes, you know, just what might start off as a dumb idea turns into a fully fledged deck archetype here.
Yeah,
So,
like
actually,
not throwing shade, but like when like George's list that he got top 32 at Palm Springs, it's just a pile of cards, but
that
all of them
yeah,
really work together,
yeah,
and that's a lot of strength in itself.
yeah, that list, to be fair, is also a decently pilot heavy list to a degree. I mean, um, George is no slouch when it comes to this game. So like he is definitely able to pilot stuff like that, which maybe some newer players might not be able to pilot to the same success. But that's one of the great things about Battle Spirits is it's um, it's one of the more rewarding games as far as when you put time into it, you usually get pretty rewarded for your time.
I agree. I agree. And yeah, like there definitely is RNG, but it's to a point where I feel like I'm in control of my decisions, and my decisions are impactful instead of just seeing what my opponent like. Okay, this is my play. Let's see if they have the answer. Right? There's a lot less of
Right.
that.
Yeah, and it feels a lot more in control. Like there is an RNG factor, but it feels a lot more in control because if your opponent sets a burst, you can usually narrow it down to what it is, given what their archetype is. As to where in cards or in games, you know, like Digimon or One Piece, where you have your security that can, you know, really just change anything, whether you
Yeah.
get like a big security trigger out of, you know, in Digimon, or you get a nice trigger in One Piece to be able to pop something or something like that. It's a lot less in control because it starts at the beginning of the game. As to where with burst cards, you have you know, your opponent's going to set it. You can kind of gauge the situation. You know, if they played it, you know, turn one, maybe there's a less chance that it's an ice shield and maybe something more like a dream bomb or a star blast draw. If they have 2 health in set one, you know, then you can kind of maybe infer that it's an ice shield and stuff like that. So there are some RNG factors to it, but I think the worst ones are probably things like Turtle, where, you know, you play
Yeah.
Turtle and you lose an ice shield.
Yeah, and you know this game is, you know, technically a best of 3, so you do have just the amount of variance because of that helps, you know, generalize what you're able to see. It's harder to brick twice, right? So
Yeah, and especially, you know, the funny thing about Digimon was it was the only Bandai game to not come with a mulligan, and so with this game starting with a mulligan at the beginning and also being one of the more balanced set ones, I think it makes for not as many non games, if you will.
yeah, and
But
it's the
Elk is burning.
yeah, Elk is already on board. If you've got 3 more ice shields, you just win, right? Isn't that crazy? Like
It's that yeah. I mean, yeah, this is an interesting one because in like any other scenario, suppression also kind of helps you out here. But because God Beast is going to make it so you can't block the other spirits with Elk, it's not as good. But and also Pegasus. Pegasus is a spirit that you can normally block a lot of small spirits, but to do so you have to make it level 2, which again God Beast will get through. So this is an interesting scenario. But yeah, if you do have the Ice Shields, Elk is looking pretty decent, especially if you get one more burn, then you put yourself into Derm Dyna range.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but there's Derm Dyna is based off both players' nexuses, right?
Yes, yeah, it's either players' nexuses, but we do see the Nomengard City down there, and if you get the one burn and put them down to 1, then all you really need is that one nexus. But you are playing against a very nexus-heavy deck. I mean, we saw round 1 with Anthony; he had like 8 nexuses out on board, and so
yeah.
That is something that can help you later with these white decks. But as of right now, you're in a very interesting position because this God Beast does make it very hard to block here.
Yeah, and just on the think tank, he's
we're deep.
Shuffling those cards, still not finding the one he likes yet.
One of these got to win me the game.
Where I had a card I liked. Where did I put it? It was right here, I swear.
Where did my last piece of Exodia go?
Yeah. 4 is enough, right? I don't need the 5th piece. Just trust me on that one.
I got 2 legs and 2 arms. Is that enough?
They're both left arms somehow, but I still.
They're somehow both the same leg and the same arm, but hey. All right. I mean, just coring up and passing, but I don't know. This like you can block the God Beast with Elk, but then you can't block anything else because they'll all be unblockable with 2 cost or higher, and you only have 3 life, and there's 4 swings. So even if you were to
because you can't even like suppression
card,
right?
Yeah, you can't suppression. There is looking at the list, there is other forms of removal that you could use for Jonathan to try and help, but with just how many bodies there are on board before this turn even starts is pretty rough because, yeah, we're going to see the Avatar come out here now, and so if one of the 2 costs does go down for some reason, you can play it off out of trash and get another swing going. So Godby is going to swing in. I'd imagine this is just going to be an Elk block. And now everything besides the 3-cost Avatar is going to be unblockable. Unless you play magic cards to lower the pay cores off and lower the level of these spirits.
Yeah, and I keep forgetting that Behemoth is just a when the spirit attacks. So it has to be the first attack. I think I got that wrong in the last match too. But you have to attack with it first, and then everything else gets pretty much unblockable.
It is when attacking effect. So gonna attack there, but in that last round, you weren't totally off because you could have swung the other way. But in this scenario, you definitely need to swing God Beast first because now you have 4 unblockables to your opponent's 3 life, and so it looks like we're looking to pay cores here. Gonna go for suppression onto the Elk, which isn't going to be able to redirect, so you're not playing the Soul Core, but it is going to put you at 13 to God Beast 11.
And does the God Beast have to be on board to continue its when attacking effect?
It does not.
Okay.
But you are setting up to if you can survive this next turn and get rid of the God Beast, then you are looking pretty good. But
okay,
suppression to the suppression. The Elk isn't going to go down. It's already blocked, so it can't be deleted by battle. But this does prevent the God Beast from being deleted, which...
Oh, we're doing a second suppression?
Oh, my goodness, yeah. There we go. Yeah. All right, so now we're at 16 to 14, baby.
These are Digimon numbers.
Yeah.
All right.
These are Digimon numbers. These are, weak Yu-Gi-Oh numbers. Oh. Are we paying more? What do we got here? Angelic Pressure. So, that's going to put you back down to 13. 2 God Beasts is 14. And this is I mean, I gotta love this
Yeah, this
because
is
it's not too often you see a 4 card flash chain. It does happen, but it doesn't happen too often, and so both players are going to have to commit a decent amount of resources here. Um, but regardless, I think that chain probably ends there. The God Beast will stay. The Elk will also stay because we are just playing the suppression to try to get rid of the God Beast itself. So that way, if you survive into this next turn, but we are going to take damage there. Unblockable. I mean, I think you just.
I think you just
I
win.
mean, maybe not swing out, but you swing at least one more here and see what happens. Can't block here because again,
It's
Pegasus
level,
is
yeah,
level
yeah.
2.
Yeah, yeah, because you kept a core on it. There, I think there was one in the city that you could have taken off, but also you didn't use suppression with the soul core, which means you can't redirect anyways.
Yeah, you can't redirect even if like until we got Elk down to 2 or less cores. So gonna take the damage here. See what happens here. Gonna swing with the Friestal, and that is just gonna be it. You know, sometimes, and the thing is though is this game, unlike I feel like most other Bandai games, I guess to a degree, you could say One Piece is up there as well. But in my opinion, I think like the bluffing of what's in your hand during the flash step and stuff like that is something that could be pretty powerful. I actually won a set in Palm Springs because I acted like there was suppression in my hand, and my opponent decided to end their attack step, which allowed me to then go for game with Derm Dyna. But there's definitely a chance that your opponent, although they have what is a on the outside a guaranteed win, there is something that you know, maybe they think of, oh, what if they have this? Then I'm in trouble or something like that, which can cause them to not attack. But Tyson going to be very smart there and just go for that full swing. I think you didn't lose anything there because even if you swing and that 2-drop does go down, you still will have the Ervital unsuspended, which will leave you with a blocker that plays out another potential blocker. So there's no way that you really lose in the next turn either.
Yeah, and I honestly I wonder why he committed so much to suppression, and there definitely was a thought that maybe he thought if God Beast didn't finish its one attacking, it doesn't get it. And I'm not actually sure on that.
I would imagine.
Because I know.
I mean, when it came down to it, it
right?
didn't matter. But I think, yeah, it is different. What I think it was as long as God Beast stayed on the board, you really didn't have a win condition. So maybe if you were able to bump up your BP on that Elk to actually get rid of that God Beast, then you'd have a chance to where when your opponent goes, because we saw 2 suppression. So if you play 1 suppression to get rid of the God Beast, and then let's say you don't lose that turn, it comes back into your next turn, then you would actually be able to have that second suppression on Elk, and then you would be able to block everything given that they don't play another God Beast. But I think you were in a position right there. We didn't see what the last cards were, but you were kind of in a position to where you were probably losing anyway. So I think your best bet was to just try and get rid of get rid of God Beast, and then just hope your opponent maybe just passes turn or something like that. I think that was the idea. There might have thought that if you got rid of God Beast, it wouldn't got blocked, but
yeah, because if you compare it to like Luster has when the battle ends specifically, but I think God Beast just activates when it attacks, and then it's just an effect for the turn. Yeah.
Yep, it is a when this spirit attacks effect, so it'll happen before flash step and everything. It will linger, so there is no way to actually get around that. But maybe that was an idea that maybe was thinking that's how that worked, or I think. The only other thing I could really think of was if you can get rid of God Beast, then you might have a win condition with Elk in that second suppression.
Yeah, yeah, and again too, you could have paid enough cores to where the Elk was small enough level that you could have suppressioned and then kept it on there. So I think if you had the kind of the foresight for that, you could have survived that last turn and then been able to burn another damage. But
Yeah, we had 5 cores on the ilk. So if you paid the 4 from double suppression to get it down to the 1, then you would
including
be
the
able to
soul
block
core.
out there.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be able to.
Burn.
Well, actually,
right?
no, because you'd have to pay the soul core off the Pegasus, so you'd only be able to remove. Or no, you'd still be able to remove 3 cores off the elk, so it'd still be level 1. But you wouldn't get the end of attack burn, but you wouldn't lose the game right there.
Yeah, and I think and this kind of goes down to just how flexible the core system goes and everything else is. There was options, right? You could have bought another turn if you wanted to, and
right.
The being it like the flash step is something I think is criminally underused right now in set 1. I think that's my only gripe with this game right now, is that it does have this really cool battle back and forth that there's just not honestly a lot of good cards for it, right?
Right.
And this game, that last game was like an exception. Like that's the most. Sometimes you don't even resolve 1 flash card, right? But they resolve 4 in 1 step, right?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of flash steps are. I mean, most are probably just no flashes, maybe up until block. But a lot of the times, if there are cards played during the flash step, it's 1, maybe 2 cards. Maybe you play a card to destroy your opponent. So then they decide, okay, well, now I have enough cores in reserve to play a Burning Force or something, and then you can respond with that. But a lot of the times, yeah, it's just 1 or 2 cards. So to see the 4 card flash chain was pretty entertaining, just because it doesn't happen too often, and whoever is the winner of that, it usually comes out big because it basically means that your opponent negs 2 on cards.
Yeah, you both discarded 2, but you got what you wanted anyways, right?
Yeah, you lose 2, but your opponent loses 2, and in that situation, you also lose a spirit there. So gonna go for the Star Blessed, coming out of the side. So the turtle gonna get 2 extra draws, which is pretty big. I mean, with white control, you have less draw than most other decks, but you have cards that you kind of are looking for, whether that be Elk, Elephant, Enterprise. In this matchup, Odin's pretty good and things like that. So the extra draw definitely helps speed it up. Not blocking the Gem Beast there. Is there 2 core? No, 3 cores on there, so it would have been 5k to 5k. So didn't want to get rid of the Pegasus, but does stop the turtle from being able to swing in there.
Yeah, and you were honestly pretty close to. You're 1 core away from being able to draw 2 more cards if you really wanted to off the Star Blast, because you had 4 on the board. But looks like you're going into the big sword boy. This is Sky Dragon Lord Platinum.
Yep. So when summon, it's going to return all spirits with 3,000 or less BP to the owner's hand. So that does count your own spirits. So that is going to bounce back the turtle to the opponent's hand. The Gem Beast is sitting at 5k right now, so not going to be able to bounce that back. It looks like Tyson giving a little search to Platinum really quick, but this card is very powerful. Versus a lot of these aggro decks, because you are able to bounce back wide, and it is also fairly big in itself. You are getting a plus 1k on your opponent's turn thanks to the Nomengard City, but if you didn't have the Nomengard City, Platinum himself can become a 7k with just 2 cores, which is very hard for almost anything to get over, especially when you have something that is able to bounce back such wide boards.
Yeah, I think it's very strong and a good. I don't know if they sided in or is in the main, but definitely good kind of tech for something like this. All right, going back into
the Platinum is a card that I've been playing with a lot recently, just because of the wide aggro. If they go wide, a lot of the times they're not going to be much bigger unless they have Bullet Ray or Raccoon Guard, which can go to 5. Or even red aggro, a lot of the times they will be pretty big because of things like Agano Rex or their Nexuses of Scorched Battlefield. But when they come to your turn, they don't get those buffs, and so you can play this card out to bounce them all back, force your opponent to pay the cores, and then have a decently sized blocker. And so the Platinum works pretty well. There is a very hidden tech in this deck, if you will, that I won't spoil yet, but it does work incredibly well with Platinum's ability to bounce back 3Ks or less. So Platinum is a very underrated card, in my opinion. Card that hasn't been seen too often, but can definitely thrive in a aggro meta. So
Yeah,
I'm gonna
because
swing in
I
there
was
7K.
as soon as he played the card, I'm like, okay, it bounces both players. What can I abuse with my own cards? And Valkyrie Mist is definitely one that you could abuse with as well. Being able to bounce it back and then get another bounce back later if you need to, especially because Valkyrie Mist is so cheap. Like, Valkyrie Mist should not be 3 reduction. It should have been 2. 3 reduction is crazy.
No, I can't believe. Honestly, I'm a little embarrassed to say that I let this card go past my radar, like pre-Vegas, if you will. And then it was one of those cards where I played it and I was like, this isn't fair. You mean I pay 1 core and I bounce something back? But yeah, with the Platinum, it is very nice. I've definitely done that play a couple times in testing, being able to play the Valkyrie Mist for 1 to bounce back something that's, maybe not 3K or less, something a little bit bigger. And then you could play the Platinum to bounce back all the small things, including your Valkyrie Mist. So that way, when your opponent plays their big spirit once again, you can then go ahead and bounce it back the following turn. So it's a pretty decent combo, but it is something that you have to be a little bit wary of because there are positions where your opponent has their own Valkyrie Mist that you don't want to bounce back. So it becomes this weird game of I'll Platinum to bounce back your Valkyrie Mist, which bounce back my Platinum, which bounces back your Valkyrie Mist, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, definitely. Like in Palm Springs, there's so many times where it's just like, well, I'm going to play 3 guys out that are vanilla that are essentially free. Valkyrie Mist for then free since there's enough reduction aboard. And it's turn 2, so best thing you did was just play 1 guy, and now I have 4 attacks hitting your face. Like, it's absurd.
Yeah. So Forest of Steel Leaves coming down. One of the more underrated white Nexuses does have the level 1 effect where if you have a burst set, none of your white Nexuses can be deleted by red spirits or magic. So it does help shut off things like Burning Force or Andromeda. And then the level 2 effect for only 1 core is whenever one of your spirits is destroyed, you bounce one of your opponent's Nexuses. And with a decently Nexus-heavy deck, it is a card that can put in a lot of weight because it doesn't matter if it's your turn or if it's your opponent's turn. If one of your spirits goes down, you do get to bounce a Nexus. So Cathedral, Phantasm, things like that become a lot less weaker when Steel Leaves is on the board.
Yeah, and the protection that you get from it is great. Obviously, Burning Force is such a good card right now because of how flexible it is. But if you have just a bunch of 4K bodies and this guy out with a burst down, it's a dead card in hand.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, and the Force of Steel Leaves is definitely starting to pick up in these white decks off of... it won't come into this matchup because we are playing white, but Netherworld Depths, the level 2 effect, does help get through the armor purple. And so with the Force of Steel Leaves, you can essentially infinitely bounce the Netherworld Depths and force your opponent to pay, 3-4 cores for it every turn. So it is something that is starting to pick up in a little bit more popularity. But as of right now, it's not doing too much. Not sure if Tyson is going to be having that Burning Force, but if they do, it does shut down, shutting off those Nexuses. But as of right now, we don't see any Cathedrals, no Paradises. And at this point, if they're in hand, you probably don't pay the cores to even play it down, just because you're going to have to pay it again after it gets bounced with the Steel Leaves.
All right, so attacking with the dual Eagle there. So it does have a nice little effect, since it is past level 3 by quite a bit, that you do get to reduce the, your spirits with Blessed can't be blocked by your opponent's level 1 spirits, which I think is everything but the...
But the Pegasus.
Pegasus, yeah.
But we're going to take the damage, so they do get to gain a core from the Bless because they are taking the damage, but you can go ahead and pay 3 now to Dream Bomb and bounce back either the Gem Beast or the Eagle. You have plenty of cores to do so, so citing what they're going to bounce back. Honestly, the Eagle isn't as scary, although they were able to get that attack in here. Going into future turns, Eagle isn't as scary because you can just put 1 more core onto Platinum and make it a 7K, and then from there, it's pretty hard for Eagle to get through there, especially with if you put the 2 cores on the Nomen Guard and give everything plus 1K on your opponent's turn, you could have an 8K with that Platinum, which means nothing besides God Beast is going to be able to really get through that.
And looks like paying some cores here for... Okay, ooh, Elk. That's very strong. So you do get some protection. You're down to, I believe, 2 life, if I can kind of see his life counter there. So being able to have Elk with maybe suppression in hand can help buy you some turns. And looks like starting to be on the aggressive for themselves, attacking with the Valkyrie Mist.
I'm going to go ahead and swing in with the Mist right here. It's not doing too much for you, so might as well. And now the Eagle has a couple things to worry about. There's not only the Platinum, but there's also Elk. Which, I mean, Elk is a great blocker. It's also going to help us get some actual damage going with that end turn burn.
Also, here, 1 sec. Let me fix the mic thing. All right, your mic should be better now. So you can try that again.
Testing. I didn't know my mic had a problem. Hello.
No,
hello.
it's on my side. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you're good though. You should be good. All right, so playing a couple of Fabled Beast over there.
A couple of Fabled Beasts. No Paradise though, so not gonna be able to get some draws, but making them a little bit bigger. Not big enough to deal with what your opponent has on the board. They have 3 blockers, and they all 3 line up perfectly into the 3 attackers that you have right now. Elk can block the Gem Beast, the Platinum can block the Eagle, and then the Pegasus can block the Turtle. And no foul, no harm on the white player's end.
Yeah. Also, Court Prime in chat said they played their first locals on Monday and had a good time. What'd you play? What did your locals look like, Court Prime? Curious to see what your experience was. It looks like we're going back to Jonathan's turn.
Don't forget to send your locals results to BSS Top Decks, baby.
No, you strictly have to. It's actually mandatory. Like they'll track you down otherwise.
Grey Gamir coming out here. A card that is maybe not the greatest versus white or versus yellow because its level 2 is only at 3k. But when it blocks, it does gain another 3k when blocking, but it is one of the few cards that has armor white naturally, so this is kind of more of the white aggro card that you're looking at. Being at 3k for a 2-core is not the greatest just because Exhaust Nexus, Angelic Pressure, cards that will come up very often, can just kind of get rid of it for free.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, if they don't have the ability to get rid of it, being able to have 2 cores block and have a 6k is pretty big. And looking at DPs now, we got 3, 1, 7, 4, and 6. So and double Exhaust Nexus is... Whew.
I think there's like 1 card in the game that has armor yellow right now. Like it almost doesn't exist, right?
Yeah, it's Grey Gamir and Enterprise.
Okay, so does Enterprise have armor yellow?
Or sorry, you said armor yellow. Yeah, there's 2 cards with armor yellow, I believe.
Yeah.
There's the... It's basically a vanilla because its only effect is armor yellow. And then... That actually might be it.
I think that really is it. Yeah, because I know Enterprise does have white and it does give armor white to everything else, which is very strong. But
it doesn't get around Exhaust Nexus, no, because Exhaust Nexus does not target. Right. So if you had armor yellow, it would still go through. So Valkyrie Mist gone, Grey Gamir is gone, and Elksin at 3, Pegasus at 1, and Platinum at 4 still.
Also, Anthony, welcome back to the chat. Congrats on your 2-1.
Yeah, if that card could get around Exhaust Nexus, it would be incredibly playable. But instead, it is. I
think we just
don't know if it has any playability.
Yeah. I think we just saw the double Exhaust Nexus, though, as we were talking about it.
Yeah, that's the double Exhaust Nexus, and that is that's a problem. That is one of the things where. It's a little bit greedy from Jonathan here because you could have very easily put the cores, instead of paying for the 2 for the Gregomir and the 2 on top of it, you could have cored up Elk to a you could have cored up Elk to a 10k, which is kind of the card that you're trying to keep on the board. And when you're playing against yellow, a lot of the times you do need to be keeping your key pieces outside of 6k, because that's just a very easy number for yellow to hit, because it didn't even have to be Exhaust Nexus. There could have been Exhaust Nexus to pop the 2, and then Angelic Pressure to just get rid of the Elk or anything like that. But looks like we're going to go for a Suppression. We got -6, so we went from 7 to 1, now at 4.
Which
and
I don't think
is at 3.
I don't think it's big enough unless it's got double suppression. Okay.
Now
you're
we're at 7.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the Gem Beast. I didn't see the second core. The Gem Beast was at 4, so they would have tied there. But now you're going back up to 7, which means that not even the Eagle can get through here. So probably just going to be a turn pass here, and yep, that is what we're going to see. Unfortunate that you have to burn double suppression once again, because that's kind of rough. I think there was a world where when you saw the first Exhaust Nexus, you could have went for the suppression on the Elk just in case, and then worst case scenario, you just get multiple blocks with that Elk. But now we got Valkyrie Mist, gonna bring back the Bearded Eagle, another Pegasus coming out, so again, a decent answer for these 2 turtles on board right now, because the main thing about Pegasus is when you have these small 2-drops like Turtle, you force your opponent to put unnecessary cores on them. Like you would have to put 3 cores on the turtles to play around Pegasus's effect when he's exhausted, which are kind of a waste of cores to a degree, because they don't get anything from having 3 cores on them. So even if you don't get to block, sometimes you force your opponent to make a little bit weird plays with their cores. Snowflakin' coming out. Only 2 cores on it. Needs 4 cores to hit level 2. So just sitting at a 2k right now. And looks like they're going to pass. Just get a little bit of chip damage in. I don't hate it. You need to get some damage going if you want to win, because I mean the first Elk is gone and 2 suppression are gone, and there's 1 card in hand, so you're starting to fall a little bit behind on general resources. That's kind of like the thing that makes Elk so powerful, is that when you're playing white control, a lot of the times you can fall behind on resources, but as long as you have Elk and you're not taking damage, it doesn't really matter, because you're still progressing your game plan. But this is a ton of cores to work with. Once again, yeah, that's an Enterprise. So Dream Bomb and Valkyrie Mist are now shut off, as well as cards like Turbo Rex are going to be shut off, and then no Burning Force or anything like that. So Enterprise, a very big investment. You just had to spend essentially 12 cores to set that up, 8 to play it, 4 to get the armor on everything. But now that you have it developed and you make it back to your next turn, like once you pay those 8 cores, you're looking good. But we're going to see an Enterprise on the other end as well, which is not as powerful because you don't get armor yellow, which is what your opponent's working with, but they get armor white.
Yeah, and something else too is that Enterprise makes a lot of sense. Like when we saw game our first round match with neither of these players, but when you can get up into like infinite core territory, yeah, Enterprise is a really good card to pay 12 for, right? You really don't care about it, but I think Enterprise is something I saw a lot in early meta. I haven't been seeing as much recently, just because I think the game's been a little bit faster. But if you're able to get that protection and just help save a lot of your 2 costs, it's a very valuable card once you establish it.
Yeah, and I mean, we are in the second game here, and so there is a good chance that this could have just been side decked in. And when you're playing Cathedral, I mean, there's a lot of, you can get away with playing things that cost a lot. I mean, we saw the first round, the yellow deck with Elephant in it. I mean, you were able to play Elephant and then still have some. And so it's with Cathedral and how much core ramp you can get, you you can pretty easily play these things. So don't know if Enterprise was in the main deck. I don't hate it in the main deck because it does help you against red decks, which are kind of your bane, especially Nova. But it's very easy to side deck in as well, especially when you're seeing cards like Platinum or Valkyrie Mist, Dream Bomb, things like that. Being able to have the armor white just really helps you solidify a board that your opponent can't get through.
Yeah, and something else too, Alias Taken. Does Burning Force have to hit 2 targets, or is it up to 2? It's in this game you resolve as much as possible, so it's not a cost to be able to have 2 targets for it. So you can just use it for 1 card. But I know that's something in Yu-Gi-Oh where if it was worded this way in Yu-Gi-Oh, you would have to have 2 cards to hit. You wouldn't be able to do it with only 1.
Yeah, and that's one thing that, at least in my local area, that I think I've gotten the most questions from some of our newer players, or cards like that, or the interaction with Deadly Balance, where if you don't have anything on the board but your opponent does, you can still play Deadly Balance because unless you have to pay a cost, which the only cost that you have to pay in this game right now, I'm pretty sure, is Nova's when summoned effect.
Yeah.
Outside of that, you just do as much as possible.
Yeah. Besides like core costs, obviously you have to pay those, but
yeah.
But
I guess as far as like text cost.
The first time I deadly balanced someone with no target, they're like, "Oh, you can do that!" Like you're like, "Yes,
oh my
you can."
Goodness! So we just blocked the Bearded Eagle with Enterprise, but double Angelic Pressure is gonna get rid of the Enterprise, so no more Enterprise.
Yeah, that did get rid of it. But here's the thing: we've seen no luster from Tyson, and we've seen him just sling a lot of these Magic cards. But he's probably running out pretty quickly.
Yeah, yep. We've seen 2 Exhaust Nexus in 1 turn, 2 Angelic Pressures in 1 turn. Decks like this usually don't play Drowsy Fumes, and so as far as like DP minus cards, we're probably sitting on a max of 2 more Exhaust Nexus and 2 more Angelic Pressures. So. And you don't have a lot of cards in hand, so there's a chance that you do just get through here.
Yeah,
and as far as Magic,
I've been impressed with just how many cards are in Tyson's hand and being able to use, because he found no Cathedrals, none of your Nexuses that draw, but he's able to still keep a moderately healthy hand.
Yeah, and that is partly helped to the Turtle, because we've seen a couple Turtles played out, as well as multiple cards bounce back to hand. We saw Turtle bounce back with Platinum.
Yeah.
We bounced back Eagle. We bounced 2 things with 2 Mists, I believe. So a part of it is just a rebate on cards that we've already played, but that's one of the strong points of White, is the bouncing, but it's also a weak point of White, is where bouncing isn't quite as strong as the leading, because it still gives them access to play it once again. But we're finally seeing a Cathedral come out, and there isn't a core on Steel Leaves, so can't bounce that back. I do think it's smart to not leave that 1 core on the Steel Leaves if you have the cores to be able to buff up your opponent's spirits. But now that they passed and it's back to Jonathan's turn, I would definitely look at putting a core onto that Steel Leaves, so that way if you block with something like Valkyrie Mist, you can go ahead and bounce that Cathedral and neglect that card draw, because that's going to be the most important point at this, where we're at with the game right now, is you can't allow your opponent to just outvalue you.
Yeah, that's just a recipe for disaster. And again, you said this like a while ago, but bouncing back to hand isn't like, it's still like giving card advantage to your opponent, and White generally doesn't draw a lot of cards too, so you really have to try to take advantage of the tempo as much as you can.
Yeah, and the Odin coming out here is really big. So has when the spirit attacks or blocks, it is able to bounce one of your opponent's spirits that cost 3 cost or less. If the Enterprise wasn't out, it would be much stronger, because its level 1 effect does allow you to refresh at the start of your opponent's attack step if you control a White Nexus. So you could do things like attack, bounce, refresh during their attack step, and then block and bounce. But even just having the Odin here is really nice, because that means if your opponent swings, you can block, and then you can either block the thing that's attacking so they don't get Cathedral value, or you could bounce that Ervitas so they just don't get that on deletion, able to play something else out. So Odin, a fairly decent card, especially when you pair it with Suppression, because if you block one thing and bounce, and then Suppression, you're able to then bounce again and also get the block. So you could essentially get rid of 4 spirits off of Odin and suppression.
Yeah, something you guys might notice is that there is nary there's very very few once per turns in this game. There's almost none.
Hmm. Yeah,
Like
very very few.
very very few. So there's a lot of semi loops in this game inherently just because of how some of these effects can work.
Hmm. And I do think the outside of the once per turn, I do think opens up the game a lot. I think there's a lot of cards that if they were limited to once per turn, it would really change how the game is played as far as like the meta.
Yeah.
And so that is one thing that is very different from going from other card games, though, because a lot of other games you have once per turn. I mean, Digimon is filled with once per turns and such. And I mean, games like Yu-Gi-Oh even have once per game effects
Yeah.
and things like that. But in Battle Spirits, you have very few effects that don't activate every time, which is why there's these cards that can be super powerful. Like Odin, it doesn't matter if you already blocked. If you suppression, you can block again. Forest of Steel leaves. Another card where if you if you lose one spirit, you can bounce a Nexus, lose another, bounce another Nexus, and things like that. But gonna get Elk out here now. Need to put 3 cores on there. So that way you can get its level 2 burn effect. And gonna just go ahead and sack off the Valchemist, which I think is pretty fine.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's fine too. So you do essentially have enough cards just on board inherently to get enough blocks you need, especially since the bouncing. You have your arm dragon being able to your enterprise to get that too. So really, putting up a pretty good wall of cards, even though I think he only has 1 card in hand.
Yeah, a little bit of an interesting thing here though is that we did kill off the Valkyrie Mist to get that 3rd core on there, but as of right now we have 3 cores on Enterprise, but it's a 2 core level 2 and a 4 core level 3. So that 3rd core is actually not doing anything for Enterprise itself. So you could have taken that core off of Enterprise and put it on Elk, or you could even put that core onto the Steel Leaves to try and bounce that Cathedral.
Yep, and so he played the God Beast, which will be able to do, prevent a lot of these blocks too. So you do have to be a little bit careful of what that's going to be able to do.
Yeah, there's only 2 cost spirits on the board right now, but you do have 2 level 1 spirits right here, so you could block with the Elk, and then both the Friezatal and the Flying Turtle can be blocked by the Snowflaken and the Odin.
Yeah.
So, think about what to go through here. I feel like Elk is just the safest block here. Once you declare block, you can't be destroyed for the rest of the turn. Outside of BP minus, but there's not a lot of BP. Like with 2 exhaust nexuses and 2 angelic pressures gone, I think the chances that 2 minus cards come out to give that -6, I think it's relatively low. Thinking about blocking with the Pegasus, which is interesting. Unless you're worried about the Enterprise swinging in, I think Elk is relatively safe, but also, if you just think that Pegasus is no longer going to help you because of the God Beast, you can block there and get rid of it, which just opens up 2 cores for you to be able to put onto something else. But it is interesting to not see Elk be the first block. Going in with the Ervital now, we don't have Odin level 3 anymore, or level 2, so not going to be able to bounce there, but we are blocking. This is going to be 3-3 right now, so if you do block, the Ervital is going to be able to activate its when destroyed, be able to play out whatever 2 cost you want. Likely that Penton, because it is the biggest 2 cost as far as the one that can get to the highest BP. But you can also play out things like Flying Turtle just to get some search going. Let's see here. What are we going to play out? Yeah, going to be the Penten, so got to pay 1 and then put a core on there. You can put multiple cores on there. It doesn't have to be the 1. So, yeah, going to be taking cores off of the God Beast to buff up the Penten to a 4K, which I think is a great play because the God Beast has already swung this turn. He's already pretty big with just the cores that he has right now, and so being able to bump up the Penton to a 4K is nice, but just going in with all the blocks with everything besides Enterprise and Elk. So, not sure. I mean, I guess the Snowflaking doesn't help you too much, but I guess you're playing around the Freeze Atoll getting draws for your opponent, which could be a little bit annoying here. But actually, oh wait, no, the God Beast just can't. They just can't block.
They can't block. No, that's going to be it. So Tyson takes it 2-0 over Jonathan with white control. So he's going to be one of our potentially 3 undefeated going into this next round.
Yeah, able to take it there. Quick one again. This matchup can be a little bit rough because white is so used to having armor versus everything besides yellow. So the exhaust nexus and things like that definitely can hurt. We saw that go through, but I do think we got a little bit greedy with that Gregomir and not buffing up the Elk that one turn. I think if the Elk was a 10K, we could have potentially seen a different game for sure.
And we did go to game 3 on that one, showing a lot of back and forth, especially like just the fact that when yellow is able to set up, it does have a lot of power. Do you still think that it's? What do you think the odds are for this one?
Well, if I'm going to be completely honest, I think that first round we saw was a little bit strange to a degree. Like that first game that we saw was a little bit different, but I do think that depending on how the early hand goes, because in that first round we saw Anthony, and he had a little bit of a slow start, game 1 and game 3, as to where the deck usually has a pretty quick start, and if you have a quick enough of a start, it can be pretty hard for purple to actually come back from that because you just get so much early aggression. But on the other end, if you ramp purple a lot, then you get them a lot closer to the Baculus Curse Dragon combo, which can clear your board. And so I don't know if I've played this matchup enough to really know which way it's going to go. I do think it's going to be more dependent on how the yellow player draws more so than how the purple player draws, because I think if God Beast does get going pretty quick, get up into that end game God Beast, it's going to be pretty hard for purple to get through. But if they do have that slow early game, I think it'll be very similar to what we saw that first round, where it's the purple can kind of get all the pieces that it needs to clear the board with the combo, and then your opponent just kind of runs out of resources from there.
Yeah. So it looks like we are starting off, and let me get my timer set up too, because we've already started that guy. D8. All right, there it is. Boom. And it's looking like we have Tyson going first.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's going to be purple versus yellow. We're going to see what Tyson's first move is.
So going first as yellow, to me, usually signifies a Nexus, but just going to go with the Penten, which I think is fine. You are setting up a little bit of a body, so your opponent can't go in early with Aglavale, Assassin, even Camelot Knights or something like that. But I do feel like a lot of the times you usually are looking at that turn 1 Nexus. But if you don't have it, I guess it's kind of player experience as far as what's going first or second. From what I've noticed in this game, I feel like a lot more people I feel like there's not as clear of a consensus as to where in things like Digimon, there was a lot more clear consensus that going second a lot of the time was better, unless you're playing X deck. But in Battle Spirits, I've heard top players say second, I've heard top players say first, I've heard them say first with this deck, second with this deck. It's very varied. I don't think that's a question that's quite been answered yet.
Yeah, and I think it's also nice to say, like, if people like going first or second, you can build a deck that likes to do the opposite, right? So I've always kind of liked the idea that some games do give you this choice of, like, okay, if the meta is going one of them, you can adjust to that. You can make a decision, which means that 75% of the time you're going, you're starting the game the way you want to.
Yeah, if most people are going second, or like let's say in a meta, because like I would say in the early set 1 meta, going first a lot of the times was what people chose, because you would go first and you would play a Nexus, which then buffed up this little card called Hippocampo. If your opponent would go first, you would go second, and you would get a free Hippocampo swing. And so That's definitely something that you can consider. I don't think we're at a point of that solvability quite yet, but going forward, I think with Battle Spirits, I think it will definitely hit that point once green and blue kind of start to enter the game.
Yeah. So looks like we had one turn, took one damage from Taylor there, passed it back, setting a burst, and seeing how they want to use the record. Something I've also kind of blew by me for Pentan is that it gives like a reduction. It counts like a multicolored card for spells, which is really cool with its effect.
I also I got to give a shout out to Taylor here because I didn't notice this in the previous games, but does have a couple dice on the left side of the of his board, and I saw him moving it around, and I do believe he is keeping track of your opponent's cores.
Yeah.
So that is a pretty, I guess not a solidified way, but it is a decent way to both keep track of the game and also maybe be an anti-cheat measure. Not something that I see a lot of players do, so just a little shout out on that. I do think that's pretty neat.
Yeah, and because like it just gives a better way to determine like how many cards are in there. Just in the fact like you can see what they have available for them to play, and then what you can play around and what you need to play around, which I think is important.
Yeah. It's a spider coming out here. No soul core on it, so no strip. I do think keeping the soul core on the Camelot here is fine because you want to keep that curse. Because if Camelot goes down, you're really not too stressed because it's not that big of a piece. But now you're either forcing your opponent to lose their Pentant or lose a life, which either way, for a Camelot Knight is decent value.
Mm-hmm.
But they do get Cathedral value, so if they block here, go down, they can gain a core, draw a card, which they have a pretty healthy hand. But it looks like we're paying cores, paying 4 for burning 4. So yeah, it is only going to cost 4 because the Pentant is going to be reducing it by 1 with its level 2/3 effect. So you are going to be able to pop the Spider because it only had 2 cores, so sitting at 3, and then the Camelot Knight. So not too bad, honestly. I think that was a relatively good use of the Burning Force right there.
Yeah, and just it goes back to like again just how much value Pentan can get. Where if you are level 2, you're able to get that reduction. It's only what the first one you'd play, but
yeah,
when
each turn though, so you can get one reduced on your turn and your opponent's turn, which can come for a lot of value. And then 4K Hippocampo, it pressures the block from the Cavalier, which is a trade, but you would still get a core from the Cathedral.
Mm-hmm.
So regardless, either way here, you're ramping a core, because if they let it go through, you gain a life, which is essentially a ramp, not directly because you'll have to take the life, but if they block, you will just ramp from the Cathedral. So they are going to go ahead and let that go through.
Yeah, I like that. I like that attack. And again, like you can't be timid with your Hippocampos as much as like you want to get value from them. Like it's very, very tempting. So attack again, maybe trying to force the ramp a second time. Or how big the Pentan's also 4K right now, right?
Yeah. Everything on the board is a 4 right now, so we're sitting clean. Gonna let it go through, and I honestly don't hate it. I was gonna say I don't hate the Hippocampo swing going through, even though they do get the bless, just because when you are playing purple decks like this, you do kind of need to ramp a little bit. That's one of the things that I've heard. My buddy Jesse and Brandon have both topped Vegas or Palm Springs with purple, so I've played with them quite a bit as purple. And one thing that they've always said is that if they don't get ramped fast enough, it's a little bit harder. So even though you did give your opponent that extra health with the blessed, you did get 2 extra cores, which can help you, get to things like Baculus Curse Dragon, Mordred, whatever you need. You could play out multiple Beldegor, which wouldn't be too bad right here. But we're just going to see the Dragonaga Swordsman here, which is a nice little draw, but doesn't really deal with anything on the board right now.
Yeah, and I think it's also like the fact that he didn't block with it means to me like I would have thought that he had a Beldegor, right? Because when you have a 4-cost sitting out there, you always want to make sure you have a Beldegor in the trash to be able to play for free. But this is a perfect time to play Beldegor when there's both those cards suspended, and not being able to play it is pretty rough.
Right. Yeah. No, I do agree. That does definitely, to a degree. I think if you're not blocking the Hippocampo there, it does kind of scream Beldegor to a degree, because then the Hippocampo would be exhausted. You can play the Beldegor, then you can later block with the Beldegor, and then later block with the Cavalier and recycle. But we didn't see that, so I do think they were just kind of going for that ramp. But now we got just big board. We got a 5K on that Gem Beast and 2 4Ks. So they're both going to be matching the Cavalier here, and going for that block. But yeah, going a little too quick there. We do have flash steps, so this
Angelic
would
Pressure,
save the Campo.
Yeah, and this is free with your Pentan out. So
Yep.
you just discard a card and you make them. Oh, okay, Deadly Bounce. All right.
Deadly Bounce is fine because your
gonna lose
Cavalier's
this
going
anyways,
down
yeah.
anyway. Yeah.
And you already did the block, which means that you don't like this attack's not going through anyways. Yeah.
So it depends on. I don't know if I would want to get rid of the Hippocampo here. Yeah, I don't. I like getting rid of the Penten there. Because Hippocampo is just a fairly strong card going forward. It forces your opponent to kind of get rid of it. If they had Beldegor, it would have 100% came down the previous turn. So you're relatively safe there. And they have the burst set. So if that is Ice Shield, then there's no fear of just kind of full swinging every turn here.
Yeah, for people jumping in, this is the finals. This is our third and final round, and probably going forward, I'll probably restrict it to 3 rounds just in case these later nights. But I don't know. It's very tough. I really want to do best of 1 for Battle Spirits, but it's just a totally different game at that level.
Yeah, it's you have to change the decks a lot because there's a lot of cards that you put in your sideboard for a reason, you know.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of matchups where you go, okay, I might lose game 1, but once I side out, I'll be favored game 2 and 3, and that's a big part of the game. Okay, so here's the Beldegor. So we did, I would assume draw it because I would have felt like it would have came out that last turn, but Hippocampo is gone, so that's a fairly big threat gone, and it's a little bit blurry. Is that Mordred?
I believe. Oh man. Yeah, I'm going to say it's Mordred. But if it was Mordred, it's Aglavale.
Oh, no, it's Aglavale. Yeah, it's Aglavale. Whoops. It was a little bit blurry there for a second. I couldn't tell, but it is going to be Aglavale. So, I mean, it's an okay blocker because when it blocks, you will be able to get that draw. Nothing on the board right now can deal with the Gem Beast, though, because it is going to be sitting at a 5K. And Beldegor is the biggest thing that you could get on the board, but it could only be a 4K as it is. And also, leaving cores in the reserve.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Unless like they're worried about being level 2s, which means that they can't block against like a God Beast.
Yeah, leaving something for a God Beast is the one thing that I can think of, because if not, you're leaving Beldegor open to every form of removal. Even Drowsy Fumes would get rid of Beldegor at the level 1.
Yeah, and that's also just something I like about this game in general is that you generally have to pick what you're playing around, right?
Yeah. Yeah, because there's a lot of times where you have to be like, okay, am I playing around God Beast, or am I playing around Angelic Pressure? Am I playing around Burning Force, or am I playing around Core Drain, or like, you know, whatever cards you can think of here. So super shiny Ice Shield coming out. Beautiful foiling on that card.
Yeah, I don't have mine anymore, but when for the week or 2 I did, they're like, you know, the ring, right? Like, oh my precious, like it's so super shiny, and there's even like a little swirl in like the middle of like the Ice Shield hitting that.
It's so good. That's like the one thing when we in Vegas pulled it, I was just looking at the card, just at that little swirl in the middle.
Yeah, like that's something you don't get from like the image online. It is a incredibly pretty card.
Yeah, it's. I think it has the best foiling of set one.
Yeah, I agree.
Some people might argue the Saga rare because it just kind of goes super hard, or the Infernal King Curse Dragon is another one that people like a lot. But I think Ice Shield, it has really good colors. It looks really good under like solid light, and it has this swirling texture that just really kind of fits with how the Ice Shield kind of the card art works.
Yeah.
Baculus comes out, strips everything down to one core, but you can't really safely go for Curse Dragon here without clearing like everything, because you're gonna have to pay 5 for the Curse Dragon and put 1 on top of it, so it's gonna require 6 cores. You have 5 in reserve, so you could pay the 5, take a core off of 1, but then you lose 3 of your spirits to the Curse Dragon. You would ramp 5 cores, but I don't know if that's worth it versus an aggressive deck like God Beast, especially when you're at 2 health.
Yeah, and you know, the Curse Dragon would have been great, but yeah, it would only ramp 2, which isn't too big compared to what you'd want for it. But it looks like that is going to be the play, getting the Beldegor gone. So you do get to ramp what, 4 now?
Dragon, yeah. So you're gonna go for the Curse Dragon. You're gonna pay off the Beldegor and the Swordsman. So you're ramping 1 off of. He took.
Yeah.
He took. Okay, yes, he took the core off the Beldegor to put underneath, and then
put it back. Okay.
And then he had 2. He had 2 because he had 5 cores in reserve, and then paid 5. Took the core off the Beldegor to put it under the Curse Dragon, which then left the Aglavale, the Swordsman, and the opponent's 2 cards.
Okay. Sure.
And then there's a draw off of that
Poison
Smoke
Smoke
Valley. Yeah. I don't know how I feel about that, to be completely honest.
I feel like it's the play you have to make, because it might just be the only play you have, but it's not.
Yeah,
it's not amazing.
Clear, but I feel like you kind of cleared 2 of your spirits to clear 2 of your opponent's spirits, when you could have maybe done that through blocking or curse or.
Yeah, because you still just have like what, a net of 2 blockers against them, right? Which is pretty much where you were.
Yeah.
It being outside the battle step was important enough. And looks like deciding that they can be a little bit aggressive, so probably an Ice Shield in that burst right now.
Yeah, I don't think you can really afford to swing right here if that is an Ice Shield in the burst, but you have the cores to be able to pay for Ice Shield going forward, but the opponent's just going to go ahead and stop that early, which I don't know. They have more than 2 health, right? They have 3. I feel like forcing the Baculus to swing and then Ice Shielding makes it so then you can just swing and pop their Ice Shield, as to where now you need to swing twice because one will get blocked by the Baculus. So I think there was a world where you could have gone 1 more, but I do believe they have 3 health, but I could be seeing that wrong.
I believe it's 3 health as well. It's at least 2.
Yeah, it's at least 2. If it is 2, then the Ice Shield is fine there. But if it was the 3, I would have maybe waited to have the Baculus swing, so that way you can play out all your things, swing 1 to pop their Ice Shield, and then everything else you play remains as a blocker.
Yeah, because you could have like just the potential and that's like one of the coolest things about this game, where everything is an attacker and a blocker, where you really do have to balance how aggressive you are, because otherwise you can just get punished pretty hard for it.
Yeah, my problem with switching between this game and like Digimon is also the thing that you can't attack over exhausted.
It's so tempting. You really feel like you should be able to, but you just can't.
Yeah, I remember after playing hardcore Battle Spirits for Vegas, I went back to Digimon, and it wasn't until round 3 of locals that I remembered that you could do that.
Yeah, it's so tempting.
That's why cards like there's Palamedes, which allows you to attack over your opponent's exhausted spirits, which is a card that I always thought was going to be extremely powerful, especially when you add in Abandoned Guillotine, which is a Nexus that will give all your shadow spirits plus 2k. So you essentially have a 6k attacker that can attack into your opponent's exhausted spirits.
Yeah.
And I always thought that was going to be a very powerful card. just because it was the only thing that could do that. And it's such a strong thing in things like Digimon, but it's just a card that didn't really make the cut. It's just not quite strong enough. It's just attacking your opponent's face is a lot stronger than attacking your opponent's spirits. So what is there's a lot of cores on that. That's an Aandroidd, so gonna be swinging in here at 3, or no, that's the Curse Dragon. So gonna be swinging in at 6. Gonna be 3 on the other end. So oh, they do have 4 cores. Okay, the cores are stacked, so it's a 9K, and then the when attacking is going to strip all the cores off of it except for 1, which doesn't really change anything here, but they are going to be able to get those Cathedral procs and then play out the Penten, which you can make a 4K right here. I would just load up every core that you have in your reserve, so that way you can play around core theft and such, but you have 2 spirits with Curse that can go ahead and swing in here, so I would imagine those are going to go in and either pop this Ice Shield or get rid of this Penten, or both. But thinking about what to do, see those finger muscles moving in the arm.
Yeah.
Okay, gonna pass there. Didn't go for the swing, so it's kind of interesting to me because I feel like you would have at least swung the Aandroidd there because it's not doing too much for you without having the Soul Core. It does still have Curse, so you could swing and then either take out that Penten or pop the Ice Shield. But I guess just taking it a little bit slower, asking for DPs here. So we're sitting at Baculus at 6, Aandroidd at 3, Curse Dragon at 9, and the Assassin at 4. So right now, Exhaust Nexus is only going to be able to take out 1, and double Exhaust Nexus would still leave that Curse Dragon on the board. But now God Beast coming out. I guess it's pretty decent because you can swing the God Beast and then the Penten becomes unblockable. But if any sort of magic comes out... Oh, never mind. No cards in hand. I'm assuming is what those little finger wiggles were right there. So this is a pretty safe to go ahead and pop Ice Shield here. Oh, and then go for the Exhaust Nexus. So that actually just gets rid of Aandroidd at the moment. So Aandroidd goes down. Curse Dragon goes down to 3, and then Assassin at 4. Or what happened here?
I
assume the Exhaust Nexus happened, and the Aandroidd should be gone.
Yeah, unless it was hit off Flying Turtle, right? It wasn't hit off Turtle, right? He played it from hand?
It might have been hit off of Turtle.
Yeah, okay. It might have been Turtle.
There we go. I missed that. It was hit off Turtle. So, never mind. I was confused there. I was like, I swear. I was like, Aandroid's definitely a 3K. But Ice Shield popped 1 card in hand. It's not going into burst immediately, so it's not an Ice Shield. So that's a little bit scary. There are still a couple cards that could help, like Burning Force.
Real quick, Tyson's been putting all of his... So, like, the first time we saw him, he's putting the Blessed Cathedral stuff on the card, right?
Uh-huh.
Now he's been putting them in the trash.
Okay, I did not notice that.
Yeah. Well, I'll make sure to remind him after this game that we have here. But, yeah, it's...
Beldy's coming out. That was the 1 card in hand. Beldy is not going to be popping anything here because the only thing exhausted is an 8 cost.
Also, Mystic in chat, hello. Hope you're having a good, assumedly, evening. Who knows where you're from? But there's...
Also, same.
Yeah.
Same.
This game feels a lot more international. There's definitely a lot of... Like, it's really... I don't know. I feel like there's just more of a European impression on this game than the other Bandai.
Yeah, there's definitely I think a lot of just Eastern players in general. I mean, I've talked to a lot of players that live in Japan, Taiwan,
Australia, like, where Mystic is actually from. So
yeah, I mean,
it's technically afternoon.
PM Australia. Yeah, it's almost 10 PM here.
Yeah, we're there. they're ahead. They're a day ahead of us too. So it's
Yeah.
it's a Thursday over there, I believe.
It's a Thursday. Yeah. At my time, at this your time tomorrow, I'm gonna be getting ready for locals. I don't know what. I don't think you can leave all these spirits as level 2s. We have the Beldegor that's level 1, but I would just like leave the back. I would just take the cores off the Baculus, put them in the reserve, and uh, leave the level 1s because you need as many blockers for 2-drops as you can after Godbeast swings. But where are we at right now? Whose turn is it?
Let's see. Well, one, I think our judge is letting us know that they go in the reserve, not the trash for those, since those do that. That is a little impactful.
Yes.
Yeah, because it definitely matters right here when you can't really say tapped out in this game, but when you are coreless, what do you say? What do you say in this when you have few resources?
I don't know. I guess we're about to establish that right now.
Yeah.
I think coreless. I think tapped out is a little too magic specific.
Have no soul, like that one. That's a good one.
It's not bad. It's not bad. That's an exhaust Nexus, so Beldy and Agavale are gone. Still don't know whose turn it is at the moment. Okay, so it was Purple's turn.
Yeah, and
passing over to
passed,
Yellow, and your blockers for the 2-drops are now gone. So one card in hand, you can swing the God Beast. Block with either Bishop or Curse Dragon, whatever works.
Mm-hmm.
But then the 2-drops become unblockable, and unless you have magic in your hand to remove cores off of either your Baculus or your Curse Dragon, you don't have anything that can block the 2-drops.
Yeah. Yeah. So
that's a lot of cores. That looks like Enterprise to me.
Elephant.
Elephant is even more terrifying, to be honest. Elephant is a little bit scarier because there is a cursed spirit on the other end. But if there's 2 costs in your hand, I feel like the 2 costs would kind of just push for game right here. But
yeah, whenever I play purple,
reload.
If they play Nomengard, I'm like, oh my god, why do I have to destroy that? I strictly do not. Like, why did you play that?
Yeah, it's so good versus purple. Coring it up too, so you are going to be able to perform that refresh step as long as the elephant does survive this turn, which is actually huge because now you can swing with the God Beast. The turtle becomes unblockable, but also the elephant is just bigger than Curse Dragon right now by only 1,000 BP, but 1,000 BP is enough. So looking at what's in the hand, going to go ahead and block out. Curse Dragon is gone, and now Flying Turtle going to push them down to 1 health. And then at the end of the turn, we are going to perform a refresh step. So all those cores and trash go back into the reserve, and all your spirits refresh, which are blockers. But I'm going to be honest. I think this is next turn. I think Yellow is going to be able to take it.
Yeah.
You're going to have to Ice Shield out of hand. And that's when you're this far behind it, that doesn't really do anything for you.
Yeah, unless you have like something to remove that core off the turtle, you get like 2 draws, which can maybe open the door for something. But even then, like having to attack with if you need card draw from the assassin, it will have curse, which means that you're going to have to prop the elephant. Like it's just a lot of bad.
Mm-hmm. And then shout out Yomi coming in. Got to refresh those cores. It is a full refresh step. Yeah. So just as you would do the exact things as you would do during your start of turn refresh step, but at the end of the turn, and we are going to go ahead and scoop it up again.
Yeah. I think as soon as that happens,
survive like a turn. What is that? Like if you had the Ice Shield and was able to survive a turn, I don't know what that's doing for you.
Nah.
Just because with the elephant and the God Beast, it's really hard to get through because even if you get rid of the elephant, that's just going to give you cards to then give you potentially more 2-drops to then go through with God Beast.
Yeah. So we're going to go into our game number 2 here. Again, this is our final round, so winner will be guaranteed winner. Top 2 gets prizing, so there could be a pair down who gets the second place as well. So we'll have to see what that looks like as well.
The resistance gods giveth, and the resistance gods taketh away.
Let's see. Found out about BSS during a Digimon Locals, given 2 demo decks. I will say, like, I had to hard sell Yomi on this game for like a month, and I will publicly say, like, the starter deck meta stunk. Starter deck meta was not a good indication how this game actually worked. And I don't know if you agree on that. If the game was more like that, they would have an issue, right?
There just wasn't enough cards in the starter decks to really represent what's going on. I mean, there's like big cards like Deadly Balance, Ice Shield, Suppression, things that like really define how the game is played. But when you play the starter decks, and it was just the starter decks, it was a very, very elementary version of the game, if you will, just because there was not as many power. I mean, like, that was the type of things where, like, you know, Landmine was like a super strong burst card, but then you go into like set 1 and nobody's playing Landmine and things like that. So I think it's a very good way for people to get into, like, to learn the game, because there's a lot less deep interactions. There's a lot less crazy combos that happen. So it's very good to understand how to set up a game, you know, go through a game and get that stuff going. But if you're trying to see like how the game itself is played at a deep level, it was not a very good indication. Although I will say, when we were running the untap events with starter decks, I came up with the nastiest 4-color starter deck for that meta. It was insane.
Yeah, I still...
Bloody Rain was a card for sure.
Yeah, and again, Bloody Rain, we saw it earlier today, and some people still use it. It's good against some of these aggro decks that really, that one core is incredibly expensive to pay the cost for. But yeah, I'm happy that we do have deeper interaction than what the starter decks alluded to.
Oh, 100%, yeah. Yeah, I mean, even for like the Team Icewall boys, it took me a little bit to get them into it, because we were playing with like demo decks and starter decks, and it was a lot less interaction. But then once set 1 comes out, it's just a completely different game.
Yeah.
Another Swordsman coming out turn 1, so pretty clean turn 1 play. I think that's what we've seen like every
time. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. They're very consistently seeing that.
Which, hey, I mean, it's not that bad. You're kind of just recycling the card, and the cores don't matter that much on turn 1, because you can't play reactively or anything like that when your opponent hasn't done anything yet. So I think it's just kind of nice to, you know, play 1 card, draw 1 card, and then just have a blocker, so that way if your opponent, you know, comes out with like a Hippocampo or something, then you're not just dead in the water. But now we're gonna see Cavalier, so we're just drawing cards here.
Yep. And you know, today there's obviously no Pterosaurs, right? And so Starblast draw is less of a thing where you get punished for these card draws. But again, I don't know. I just had such a bad experience on the launch event. Like, I never want to play these Wind Summons again. Like,
yeah, and that's a thing that's good for the purple players. The Starblast draw has definitely fallen out of favor quite a bit. Even I think a lot of the red decks have chosen to even go for charged draw, just to get that the ability to draw and also get a DP boost. So it's not as relevant, but that's something that you can take advantage of for yourself. Like I've been playing white control with 4 Starblast draws or 3 Starblast draws in the side deck, so that way if I play against purple, I get to speed up a little bit faster. But versus everything else, nobody else is really playing into Starblast.
Yeah. And Mystic in chat said they've opened 2 boxes and they only have 3 ice shields. You're making money. That's
good pull rate. A lot of other people open 2 boxes and have like 1.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's great. 2 deadly balances is a little low, and if your wife is playing, that also means you need 8 ice shields. But unless one of you guys just commit to white aggro and not and deciding you don't need them. But I don't know. It's weird to see how rubber bandy the prices for a lot of these cards have been.
Yeah, it's interesting. Did you happen to see that video about the card prices of all the card games?
Yeah. I at least I saw like the minute graphic, right, where it just shows the cost.
Yeah.
And BSS is still like one of the cheaper games, and the only thing about that is that it's because it's newer, so like the investment to just start the game is the same for everyone, right?
Yeah, exactly.
When you play other card games, like sure your deck is $500, but $400 worth of cards already existed, so it's just like $100 to dip into the new one.
Yeah, and that was the interesting thing about that video because I was listening to it while I was at the gym, and it was actually funny because Battle Spirits was like the 5th or 6th on the list, and then he took out all the duplicates, which were like the Ice Shields and Burning Force and stuff like that, and he went from 5th or 6th to 9th.
Yeah, and I will say like I'm a little bit blinded to the cost of cards because I just got a lot of boxes at the launch event, so I've never had to pick up singles, so I don't honestly know what that market looks like. But it's wild to me. Like honestly, I think like most Battle Spirits decks can easily be like under $200, even with Ice Shields, depending on the build.
Yeah, I think like for a lot of the top decks, 80% of the deck is Ice Shields.
Yeah, price wise, 100%. And it's just that investment you make once, and then it's good for until they ban it, I guess.
Yeah. Unless you're like me and then you already have the cards, but you need the shinier version.
Yeah. So was able to resolve a dual eagle, which is quite nice there.
So the only thing that could actually block the dual eagle there was the Cavalier, because everything else is sitting at level 1. But just like again, like originally I did like, or I was saying I do like taking it early. So that way you can ramp a little bit, but the board state was it was smaller, right?
Yeah.
They had a blessed and a Penton, and now they got like 2 Penton, and then the blessed spirit is a lot stronger than the other blessed spirits. So I think there's I think I like blocking there, but again, when we're playing purple, I don't know what the hand is. So if you're trying to ramp up into Curse Dragon combo or Mordred or any of these cards, then I can see you taking it. Your opponent gaining 1 life isn't that big of a deal in the long run, but multiple lives could be a problem. But Beldegor coming out is not going to be able to pop anything. Eagle being a 5k is just out of range. And then the Camelot Knight swinging in with Curse. They're just going to go ahead and take that. I think what is that Penton in the middle? Is that just 1 core?
I believe it's just 1 core, yes.
So it's going to be sitting at, I believe, 1K, and then the other one is at 3.
Yeah, and we haven't really talked about it much, and no doubt you've talked about it to others, but 3K really is like the magic number where you need to get above. There's so much destruction that's 3K or less in this game that the jump between 3K to 4K is exponential.
Yes, it's so much. There's way more cards that do 3,000 or less than things that do more. I mean, Burning Force, we saw Platinum earlier. And then for yellow, I would say for yellow, it's even more important now with the Ferrero Slash coming out because it does have the burst of when you lose a life, pop a 3K or less, but then you can pay to delete a 4K or a 4 cost or less Nexus, which when I see that card, I think of like anti-yellow more than anything. So with that card's introduction, you have to even be a little bit more careful of the numbers that you're at. But even prior to that, I mean, Burning Force is one of the most meta-defining cards that we have.
Yeah, I would say it's probably behind Ice Shield's probably the most played Magic card in the game right now.
Yeah, 100%. I don't think there's anything else that like. I think now post event, I think Suppression might fight for that second place slot.
I think that's fair.
Burning Force is definitely up there with maybe Suppression. So double blessed coming through is rough because they blocked the Bearded Eagle with the Cavalier, but then the Hippocampo was able to go through, and because of the Eagle, none of the level 1 spirits could block, and they are all level 1, so able to get a second blessed to go through. So that means 2 damage dealt, 2 health gained.
I think they're at like what 6 life right now.
They took 1, so I do believe they're at 6. Yes.
Yeah, because they blessed twice. Yeah. Oh, okay. So our favorite boy is back.
Oh, Leon's here, which is popping Penton and the Hippocampo.
We saw him tech this earlier in his first match against Yellow, so being able to get those cards popped is pretty great, and it can get some card draw eventually, but
I mean, you need 6 cores on that boy to get a draw. So I don't know if we're ever going to see that happen. It looks like we're just swinging in, trying to pop Ice Shield. We do have a burst set, so I do imagine that is probably Ice Shield. I would leave the Swordsman unsuspended because it is your only level 2, so that way you can actually block the Eagle next turn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and a third blessed, like 1 blessed is not that bad. 2 kind of hurts. 3 though, ouchie.
Yeah, especially when ramping, like taking, life is ramping instead of card draw in this game. It's that helps you a lot. And something else too with this Leon is it is a 5 cost, which means that it does proc the Immortal from Beldegor too, which is quite nice. So I think attacking with it now, probably trying to get a block next turn with the Beldegor, and then being able to use the Leon to get the proc of Immortal from the Beldegor.
You also have the Earth Spider that could also proc it there as well. So you got a couple targets to go through, but
Earth Spider's there. I don't know why I didn't see that.
I would be worried about another Blessed Spirit come out. I'm not gonna lie, because you can only deal with 1 Blessed Spirit right now, which is what we saw that last turn. They blocked the Dual Eagle, couldn't block the Hippocampo, so even another Dual Eagle coming out or another Hippocampo could be pretty bad, but doesn't look like we're going to be having that. The Aandroidd, though, not terrible, a pretty decent blocker. We see that Penten and Trash, so I mean, being able to block and just play out the Penten, or even just swing, get blocked, play out the Penten, and then have another attacker itself is very strong. That's why things like Beldegor with the Immortal is very strong, because it gives you another attacker / blocker, and then Aandroidd is the same. I don't know if we have any other cards that do that besides those 2.
Yeah, I can't immediately think of one.
Yeah, I can't immediately think of anything, so I don't think so.
Don't be that harsh on yourself. Where am I?
Yeah. Hello?
Hello?
I mean, you're just hurting as the purple player right now.
You are.
I think until you get Curse combo, not Curse combo, Curse Dragon combo, rather.
Mm-hmm.
I think Curse Dragon combo definitely could help you out here, being able to clear off everything besides what would pop out from that Aandroidd. But if you don't hit that, what do you do about all this? What do you do about Eagle? Like, not even, let's forget the 3 other cards. What are we doing about Eagle?
Let's see. Also, Tachibana. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they've been working on that video for a couple weeks and probably used the launch prices of BSS, which were pretty wonky. So, yeah, I don't think most decks are
on May 2nd.
May 2nd. So
May 2nd was the price date.
Gotcha. So yeah, then probably still during like the first week of it being out. And
and how many boxes have been opened since then that lower the prices? So.
And additionally, a lot of people were scrambling for cards for Palm Springs, which also probably impacted prices.
Yeah. I mean, you were at launch event. You know how ridiculous prices were at launch event.
Yeah. Honestly, I think launch event was
absurd.
low. I feel like they were low. Like people wanted me to sell their ice shields for $10. I'm like, no way, because that's what they're
crazy.
That's what they were on TCG Player. Like PPG had it at like $15 for an ice shield, if that. I'm like, there's no way I'm gonna hold on to it, and I was correct.
Sheesh. I wish I could have found some people selling them for $10 at launch event.
Yeah.
Luckily, we between me, Jesse, and Brandon, we got 24 boxes, so
yeah,
we were set on ice shields.
Yeah, Yomi and I got 16, which we were set on as well, but we also got no Saga rares, which we were and still are pretty upset about.
Well, I am sorry to inform you.
Yeah, I know you got 3.
All 3.
Yeah, I'm aware.
I used them in the main event.
I did your deck profile. Of course, I saw them looking at me
yeah.
Look what you could have. Like, you don't even have one. I'm pretty sure you asked me if I had a 4th one just to clear the set. And I'm like, no way.
Well, okay, so between rounds, I was talking smack about Pendockles, but Pendockles ended up being the answer for Eagle.
Yeah, it's you can never like it's Pendockles is like never the worst card. It's sometimes expensive, but it gets the job done.
So blocked. I believe that's 3-3, but Beldegor is going to make that not matter. Paying off the Beldegor, killing the Beldegor to kill the Irvitar, and then getting another Beldegor back into trash so that if Leon goes down, that is pretty funny. I do like that. It makes these Pentens not really able to swing because the Leon, I believe, is at 3 or 4, and so Leon would go down, and then that would bring out another Beldegor. You don't really have the cores to pay for another Immortal right now, but
Leon is a 3K right now. Yeah.
So if they did swing at 4, you'd block. You go down, you'd be able to Beldegor. But right now, if it is a 3K, that means 3 out of the 4 go down to Exhaust Nexus, and Exhaust Nexus right now is going to be costing 5-2 because it would get the 2 Pentens would buff it down to 5, and then you'd have the 3 reduction. So let's see. Gonna go for the Gem Beast. So maybe no Exhaust Nexus, but I did see asking, or I assume they were asking about the DPs when he was pointing at all the cards there, and that usually sometimes represents an Exhaust Nexus. That's pretty big.
Okay, Fulla
coming out for the first time, so that doesn't really like stop Curse Dragon combo, but it makes it not nearly as strong.
Yeah, because Fulla doesn't stop you from doing it doesn't get around Boculus, but it does get around Curse Dragon because Curse Dragon does target. Or actually, no, sorry, I'm thinking armor. Yeah, Fulla protects it, and
Fulla will just stop it from any of them going forward.
Yeah.
Which is painful because there was the Vegas ruling with the Fulla and the core theft that was like ruled incorrectly to where you could core theft Fulla and remove the cores because they were going to trash
instead of the reserve. Yeah, that is patently wrong.
That was a painful misruling because I was like practicing like that, and then they were like, "Yeah, we were wrong." I was like, "What do you mean you were wrong, bro?"
Yeah, is that in the confront ruling, right? Like that one was wild.
Yeah, the confront ruling I never even like heard of. Like
no one did until they ruled it.
Yeah, but like the Fulla ruling I heard prior, and then we went to the head judge, and they were like, "Yeah, this is how that works," and then no, they lied.
It looks like they got a judge call of their own right now. Confront was that you would, if you attack with confront, you don't get a first flash step. You immediately go to blocks and then flash step number 2. But that is incorrect. Don't ever do that. But I also know, like the week before the event, they explained the interaction with Elk and Ice Shield, so that was fun. Because everyone was scrambling. Like before that, I don't think anyone thought that White Control was a real deck, right? Like it's not.
I think people were just like, yeah, Elephant pretty good.
Yeah.
But then the Elk ruling made it like a whole different thing because then you had 8 cards in your deck that like made Elk burn because you had the 4 suppression and you had the 4 Ice Shield, and so then Elk's level 2 effectiveness like doubled when that ruling went through.
Yeah, it gave the deck a win condition.
Yeah, I do think a lot of people overreacted to it too.
Yeah,
a little bit because like now that we're at this point, it's like, okay, yes, is it powerful? Yes. Would Elk be much weaker if that was on a thing? Yes, but was it as crazy as the people were making it out to be like the few days before Vegas? I don't think so.
No, but I will say like there's no word in any of those cards that indicated work like that too, which is
no. That is definitely
probably
just
part of the bonker part, right?
Daddy Bandai said so.
Yeah. All right. So Baculus happens here, so removes everything off everything that's not Fulla.
What that Judge Cole was about?
Yeah, probably.
I didn't see anything. Maybe it was regarding something with Fulla.
Yeah. That's my guess. So Pentan. One of the Pentens still has cores on it, and the Fulla does as well.
Which is nice because you still retain a 4K blocker. Another Leon coming out. This one only going to cost 4 because we do got that Leon already out. and that's only going to get rid of the Penten, I believe, because Gem Beast is a 3K level 1.
Yeah. But that could be enough if there's no Ice Shield down below.
Yeah, this is probably going to have to be an Ice Shield. We are just going to go ahead and take the first attack, go down to 2, and just pass and turn. So, wanting to leave up blockers. I mean, I would understand wanting to leave up the Leons for Beldegor purposes, but the Baculus and the Pendacles, if that is an Ice Shield set for you, I don't know what they're fully doing for you. But you do, I guess one thing is they kind of didn't manage the cores super well for an Ice Shield situation, just because you don't have anything in reserve. And then let's say you take the one from life and go down to 2, you'd still have to pay 3 more, so you'd essentially killing off 3 things to pay for the Ice Shield. So probably saving these for blocks, and then if they do swing, you can just activate Ice Shield's Burst to heal up, and you don't have to pay to end the attack step. And that could just leave you at 2.
Yeah, I agree. Just having 5 cores on board on 5 different things is pretty rough. It means that you're going to have a hard time blocking, and even if you do want to, as you said, proc the Ice Shield, you will have to get rid of cards on the board too.
Yeah. Yeah, so leaving up blockers, I think because of how little cores there were, I think that's kind of what made it so you don't block there. But
an elephant comes down to,
Elephant's a big problem. You only have to pay 7 for the elephant because we already got full established, so a little bit of value there. But let's see, we got 2 3Ks and a 4K, I believe, Pendacles. So you could swing in with the Gem Beast if you wanted, but it looks like we are just going to go ahead and end the attack step. Refresh the elephant, refresh those cores.
Yeah, I feel like you could have pressured, but if that burst card is not an Ice Shield, and if you're worried about losing next turn, I get it. See, there was very few red. I actually don't know if there was a red deck today, which is bonkers because that deck is generally pretty cheap and pretty effective.
Yeah. Hopefully, I mean, people might just be testing. I feel like Red Pterosaur is the most straightforward deck that we have in the metagame right now.
Yeah, maybe
as far as how to play it.
Yeah, because I even say like white aggro, even though it's an aggressive deck, you do have like a lot more timing.
Yeah,
choices.
You have a lot of different things with regain, Valkyrie Mist, things like that. Or if you're playing more of the mid-range cards too, that adds to it. As to with Pterosaur, you play cards, you turn them sideways, and you play Burning Force.
Actually, how much is Giganorex right now? Again, this is not. I know this sounds privileged, but I don't buy. It's $15, so it's not bad. It's $60 for a playset, so I get to understand like why that is.
No, that's true. Yeah, I guess like I've had a set since
since March, right? Yeah, both of us have. So these prices aren't. We've overcome that, right?
Yeah, and I think it's just because like how cheap everything else is that kind of keeps Giganorex up there, because it's like outside of Ice Shield, everything else is pretty cheap except for like the X-Rare, and so people can kind of value that a bit higher. I mean, I'm sure you're probably in the Facebook groups or the Discords for Battle Spirits, and it's every like 95% of the posts are does anybody have Giganorex? Does anybody have Pterosaur decks?
Yeah, and Tyler, I also agree. Like I got 16 cases. I think I pulled no more than 6 Rexes out of that. Like I think it was like every other box had an XR, had a Rex in it, which was pretty rough. Like we barely got 4 of our own to just be able to play the game with it.
Yeah, I got lucky, and in my 8 boxes at the launch event, I pulled 5.
See, every case had 5. Yeah, okay. Again, we got. I mean, I got 2 secret rare or all art Ice Shields, but yeah, it was the Rexes were not in my favor.
Yeah, I was playing Rex at that event. I was playing Terra Nova.
which is still one of my favorite things. Is my opponent didn't realize that you could ascend off of anything that's 6 cost or higher, so I played Rex for 2, and then I ascended off it into a Nova.
Yeah, that's pretty strong.
And then I had a swing 10k, and that was like my favorite thing, or like one of my favorite things about launch event was just the inexperience of it. There was a lot of funny interactions.
Yeah, I agree. There's a bunch of day one combos that only exist in that format, right?
Yeah, that was something I was trying to tell a lot of people for Palm Springs. They're like, oh well, Vegas this, Vegas that, and I was like, bro, they are not the same metagame.
It is different.
There's no way I played like half the decks I played at the launch event were not archetypes.
No,
they were 50 cards.
All right, so looking like Deadly Balance on your own Leon.
They're gonna swing here. Deadly Balance. I'm assuming this is during attack step, so you can Beldegor here.
Yeah, and I'm gonna guess this is during Flash Step. Yeah, it has to be Flash Step 1 because you can't block because you attacked with the God Beast.
Yep. So 2 Beldegors coming out. Do we have the cores for that? We do. If you take you just have to take a core off of one of the either Leon or the.
And you need to do this because with the resolution of Behemoth, you need level 1 blockers, right?
Mm-hmm. And you are able to pop the Penton at least, which is nice. You had, I guess, because the Pendacles is a level 1 now, so you have 3 level 1 blockers, and you have the Leon at level 2, which can block the Dual Eagle.
Yeah.
So it's a decent spot right here. This is starting to turn the tides a little bit. Like I feel like yellow was I don't know if I would say super far ahead, but they had a decent board lead with the blessed going on and whatnot. But that Pendacles actually was what changed the tides. Was able to get rid of that Dual Eagle.
That first one, yeah.
Dual Eagle. So I want to formally apologize to Pendacles for what I was saying earlier.
Yeah, he heard you. He's like, watch this.
You're actually pretty good when you have Earth Spider Demon.
Yeah. God Beast. Yeah, if you could pair up God Beast with Dual Eagle, so it just strictly can't be blocked. That'd be pretty sick. But unfortunately, it doesn't.
Yeah, Dual Eagle and God Beast, although they don't work together, they do give you a synergistic deck type because it's like. When you swing God Beast, your 2 costs can't be blocked by level 1. And then with Dual Eagle, your Bless can't be blocked by level 1. So it gives you 2 avenues to kind of abuse those type of things. So swinging in, Mordred going to get blocked. They have enough cores to swing and draw with a Leon. That's insane. And the Ice Shield's going to go ahead and come out. Did they put the life back?
Nope. Yep.
There we go.
Would a 2-cost Bless card I think would be busted. I think
even 2-cost Bless card is used in every deck.
Yeah. I think that is just incredibly good value. Unless it was level 1 it can attack or something like that, and then you wouldn't be able to attack until level 2. The synergy that I'd get from it, I think, would be too.
I feel like Hippocampo is borderline being a card that can go in every deck.
I think it is. I think it strictly can.
Going down to 2 cost, I think 2 cost would make it a staple. Maybe not as a 4 of, but it's just I play it for 2, put a core on, I have Blessed. You'd have to make it a level 3 Blessed.
It'd have to have Blessed, but also not attack. And you're like, what is...
Yeah.
Why do I exist?
It can't attack and it can't block.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you're who made this? I want to talk to the design team.
Yeah.
I want to know who put Blessed and Can't Attack on the same card. That's just mean.
Yeah.
We would need a silence from Hearthstone or something.
Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on the new promos that we're getting in the core set?
The EX1?
Or sorry, the EX1. Yeah, not the core set. Yeah.
I think that the red, the purple, and the white 0 costs are all viable. I don't know at what strength they're viable. I think the yellow 0 cost is not viable.
I think the magic card for yellow is probably good though, right?
Well, that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah,
Then I was gonna say, I think it flips when it comes to the magic cards. I don't think the red, purple, or white magic cards really get used, but the yellow one can very easily get fit into luster packages because you have Gleam of Hope, which does a very similar thing, but it can buff up multiple things because it gives all your spirits with luster or blessed plus 1,000.
Yeah.
As to where this one will give you plus 2k to anything, and so I think I don't know which one will kind of win out in that slot, but I do think it's viable. But I'm not 100% sure how I see the other colors really using that magic. And then I think yellow is the only 0 cost I don't really see being as viable, just because it's the color that ramps so many cores that you don't really need those cheap reductions. And Meduke coming out here, this is really good versus God Beast.
Yeah, and we've got 15 seconds left in round, so we might have to do our
some sudden death, huh?
Sudden death overtime, yeah. Because if Taylor's able to win this game, they do have to go into overtime procedures of a 3 turns.
First to lose life, yeah.
Yeah. Well, no. Well, kinda.
Well, I guess if it's even after the 3 turns, yeah.
Yeah.
They do the 3 turns. If all overtime procedures are met, then it would be sudden death. So get a little bit ahead of myself. But the Meduke is pretty good here because during your attack step, your spirits with curse also gain blood curse. So if you get blocked here and go down, you can pay a core to refresh. And if you do take life, it'll actually go to the void and not reserve.
Yeah, and it looks like he forgot to trigger a bless with the eagle when it popped the ice shield, which is impactful too.
Spaghetti meatballs.
Yeah, I think Yomi went in there to talk about it, but unsure. Sorry, I was looking away.
The life that was lost from the Dragonhog Assassin should also have gone to
the trash.
The void.
The void. Yeah. Because of Meduke, because it has. Is Meduke? Yeah, Meduke has.
Meduke with 5 cores will give all your spirits with curse blood curse, and then its effect is all spirits with curse or blood curse. When they take life, it goes.
It needs to have 6 cores, and it only has 5, so it doesn't.
Oh,
it's
it needs 6 cores.
Yeah, it's 6 cores.
So
yeah.
Never mind. I thought it was a 5 core.
No, she's expensive.
Leon goes down. Oh, Leon doesn't go down. Okay, Leon does go down. That activates a Beldegor.
Oh yeah. Now you're.
Yeah, I mean I'll just pay cores off of Meduke. Oh wait, no, it did have 6 cores. It just took 2 off, and there's still 4 under there.
Okay.
So did have the blood curse, but yeah, we're swinging 2 blocks and scoop. So going into game 3 with no time.
Yep. So this will be our special overtime mechanic since there's no ties today, which is the same as what we would be doing in Swiss in real Pro Tours. So
the only downside is that in these situations, the player who won game 2 is actually at a
huge advantage.
Yeah. I mean, it depends because I think it depends on what, because you can choose to go first game 3, right? Which would put you at deck count. So your opponent would draw a card, you'd be ahead in deck count.
Mm-hmm.
But if you go first, that gives your opponent the chance to play things and swing. So then it's you have to play 1 dude, they play 2, they take a damage, so they might be
here. Can we talk? Can we talk in the table just to make sure everyone knows how? Because you know how the end of time procedures work, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you mind just jumping into table 1 or just unmuting and just letting everyone know how it works?
Yeah. So we're gonna have 5-minute 3 turns as normal overtime procedures. At the end of that, it will be the player with the most life
If that is tied, it'll then go to the player with the most cards in their deck. If that is also tied, then it'll be the player who has the least amount of cores on board. If you are tied at that point, we will go to sudden death, to which whoever loses the first life will lose.
Let's see. Thank you.
Yep.
So we'll have to see how that resolves as well. And then also, this game, you don't have to, if you side cards, then you don't have to side them out, right? As long as both.
Yeah, no, you just in this situation you just side 10 in usually, unless they're all magic cards, then you have to be wary about it, because if you slide all 10 in and then you open all magic cards and your opponent opens all spirits, then
you lose. Yeah,
then deck count doesn't matter.
Yeah, because in this game, as long as like you can have a 50 card deck and a 10 card sideboard, and then you can side everything in, as long as both of them are still within the ranges of the legal sizes, you don't have to side stuff in and out. It's very weird. It's very
you just can't have more than 60 cards after you side. So if you have a 60 card main deck and a 10 card side deck and you side 10 cards in, you still have to take 10 cards out, because your deck cannot exceed 60.
Yeah, and same thing. Like, if you had like a 55, you could side up to 5 in for free, and then every other card you'd have to change it out.
Yeah. So I mean, this is an interesting way to decide the finals of this event.
Yeah.
Going into game 3 turns, and like again, this is very interesting because there's both upsides to going first and upsides to going second. So you're gonna have to look at your hand and then decide from there and see if you're feeling lucky. But I gotta say, as a Yellow Godbeast player, I do think I'm a bit more aggressive. So going
and
second
if you
could cause you just get that life.
Yeah, and if you're able to resolve Blessed, you probably win, right? Like
yes, if you can Bless, you're probably cooking, because it's like a -2 to your opponent, or like a +2 to you, however you want to look at it, because they go to 4, you go to 6.
Yeah.
So even if they do take a life, you go to 5, they're still at 4.
Yeah. All right, so we're gonna start the timer when they are set up. Again, this is how it's going to be interesting if they keep this, because again, this is a bit of a wild way to do like this, because a lot of times, even in other Bandai card games, if you're in this situation, either one, you have, if you're in game 2 and it ties, even before you do overtime procedure, you just choose who won game 1 and you just do it, right? They won. Yeah. But saying that you get like this double overtime procedure is pretty wild. So that was turn 0 for Tyson. We're going to go to turn 1 for Taylor. They're going to be playing a Camelot Knight, I believe.
Camelot Knight, so that's a very good chance we're going to be getting a second spirit in.
A second Camelot Knight.
A third spirit could come in. Aglovale, nope. Doesn't look like a third spirit, although that could have been fairly big. But you can go ahead and swing in here with Curse with the first one, and then you're either taking life or getting rid of the Gem Beast. And if either way, if you take life, then you can leave the Camelot Knight unsuspended as a blocker. And if they do block, then you can swing in with the other Camelot Knight and take that life. But
also, shouts to Taylor's autofocus and his hand shuffling, like very present today. So all right, so decided to take the block, and then
taking the block, and then I would
still. Oh no! Deciding
just
to
passing
not to.
here. So this is going to be the last turn for the yellow player. So they have to either like try and win the game here, or they have to make it so they stay at 5 life and go into the overtime procedures. But
and I get it too, because like you're trying to restrict them on how many cores they have in life, right? They get to play next turn, so I get it. So if you just have like another spirit for purple, you're probably in a good spot.
I mean, if you have another 2 cost, you would be able to play it because you got 3 cores on the turtle, so you could afford to take 2 off to pay 1, put 1 on.
And you also just milled a card from your deck, so that's good for you. Not really. That's really bad.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's bad. Now they're even on cards, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. All right.
Assassin,
probably enough. I mean, if you
unless they need angelic pressure in hand.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay, I
Nope.
think he just scooped.
Suppression.
Yeah, scooped it up.
Sheesh.
All right, Taylor narrowly getting it in overtime, overtime, I'd say, and ends up being our champion for this weekend. So, or not this weekend, it's Wednesday, my guy. But we are.
I mean, hey, it's a long weekend apparently.
Yeah, it's Thursday for some people on the East Coast who are watching this. So